Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Well, a couple of NBA playoff games last night and a couple of megastars getting near the end of their runs. Both go down to defeat. Now, much worse for LeBron than Steph Curry because Steph's team is still up 3-2. They're going to go home Friday night. The Rockets will play the Warriors in San Francisco, and the Warriors have a chance to clinch at home in Game 6. Meanwhile, the Lakers at home in Game 5 with a chance to extend the series do not. They get punished by one Rudy Gobert. I think things happen in both these series and both these games that were interesting as far as the Jazz rebuild. Now, in the case of Gobert, it's, the question, should they have ever torn it down? There's that. And, Gobert and Donovan didn't get along, and Donovan wanted out, and they had new ownership and new management, and those were not their guys. So they blew it up. And Gobert, man, he has not done much in this series. Man, he had a Game 5. Holy cow. 27 points, 24 rebounds. The Lakers' lack of size was on full display. There was nothing they could do. Rudy had 9 offensive boards. That is just a massive number. There are teams that in an average game have 9 offensive boards. For instance, the Lakers had 8. Rudy had 9 by himself. He just completely made life miserable for the Lakers. And, they don't have size because they traded Anthony Davis away, and then they tried to go to Charlotte and get Williams, and they had him, and then they rejected the trade because he wasn't going to be healthy, and he really hasn't played much, so maybe it was the right call, but they just need to be a bigger team. You can't run Vanderbilt out there at 6'9" or whatever, and former Jazz manager at Vanderbilt, and think it's going to go well. And it did not go well. Now, it's interesting that Gobert really hadn't been a factor in this series. The most points he'd scored in any game was 6. He's averaging less than 4 points a game. And the most rebounds he had 1 rebounding game in double figures. But he's basically averaging 4 points and 6 boards. It just wasn't that big a deal. And then he goes off for 27 and 24 on a night when they could not shoot the ball a lick. Minnesota's shooting. Ant-Man is the go-to guy. Anthony Edwards, 5 of 19 shooting, 0 for 11 from the three-point arc. Donnie DiVincenzo, who can help him out, 3 of 13 shooting, 2 of 12 from the arc. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 3 of 11, 2 of 9 from the arc. Mike Conley, 2 of 7, 2 of 6 from the arc. You get the idea. Julius Randle, 1 of 6 from 3. Now, he did have 23 points. He was effective inside the three-point line. But it didn't matter because they had Rudy and they had defense. They held the Lakers to 96 points, which is not usually a winning number. So for the Lakers, they've got to address their lack of size. And they're running out of time. LeBron's 40. PK's got people he knows from living in L.A., and one of them has said multiple things about L.A. sports, and they've all turned out to be true. And, this source is saying 1 more year for LeBron. He'll play 1 more year, the All-Star games in L.A., and then he's done. It all makes sense, right? And now we got somebody saying it. So whatever they're going to do with LeBron, they better do it. And with Luka Doncic, let's face it, a lot of people are happy the Lakers lost. Not the TV networks, probably not the commissioner's office, probably not a lot of teams in the East who are figuring they don't have to play him anyway, but they benefit because the Lakers bring, big ratings. Certainly in Utah, there's a lot of people who want the Lakers to lose. In Arizona, there's a lot of people who want the Lakers to lose. San Antonio, Sacramento, Seattle hasn't a team in a couple of decades. They probably still have old Sonic fans up there who want the Lakers to lose. So, they're out. Nobody, though, out of all those people, nobody's happier than Nico Harrison. He's still got to answer for the Luka trade. He's got to answer for getting guys back who are injury-prone, and then they were injured. So his big plan never comes together. He's got to answer for trading a player which is wildly popular, fills the arena, fills the luxury suites, makes it easy for people to sell corporate sponsorships, and they dealt him. And maybe there are basketball reasons. Maybe Luka won't be in shape. Maybe we've seen the best Luka. Maybe he won't take teams deep. He had LeBron here, and they go out in the first round in 5 games. That roster was flawed, and we all knew it, but I think there are a lot of people hoping for more than that. And so Nico didn't have to answer for that. He has to answer for trading away a super popular player. He has to answer for not getting enough back and not getting the right stuff back. But at least he doesn't have to answer for the Lakers going to the conference final or the NBA finals. He doesn't have to answer for that. Now, the other game, the Rockets and Warriors, and I think this speaks to the Jazz too, not as directly as, former Jazz man Rudy Gobert going wild with 27 and 24. But Houston, along with Oklahoma City and Orlando and Detroit, they're 4 teams that have rebuilt recently that not that long ago were right where the Jazz are. And Houston's one of those teams. Now, Houston, in a bold way, probably went all in on veterans a little earlier. I mean, Oklahoma City hasn't gone in on veterans at all. And, Orlando probably needs to do something. Detroit's done it a little bit. But Houston did it in an obvious way, going and getting Dillon Brooks, going and getting Fred VanVleet. The other guys they're starting are younger. Houston is now 2-0 in this series when Jalen Green scores in double figures. Now, he only had 11, and in a 15-point win, it's not critical, but in the 3 losses, he's been in single digits. And in the other one, he had 38, and he went off. They did a good job. The Warriors did not shoot the ball well. They did a good job defending Steph Curry. They limited him to 13 points on 12 shots. Jimmy Butler, 8 points on 10 shots. He was 2 of 10. Steph was 4 of 12. Now, the Warriors will undoubtedly feel more urgency in Game 6. Will that translate, into points and a lead? In this game, Houston got up by 16 in the first quarter, led by 27 at halftime. So Curry only played 23 minutes. Butler only played 25. Draymond Green only played 18. Buddy Hield only played 18. There was no point. So rest your guys and gear up for Game 6 because Houston just blew them off the floor. The 15-point lead was, misleading because it was 27 at the half. And 27 going to the fourth quarter as well. And then the Warriors made it look a little better, but they were going to win the game. So and Houston was down for a while, right? Norman Thompson's a high pick. They hit on singing. Jalen Green's a high pick. And then you go get some veterans to put around him, right? They brought in guys like Steven Adams, who played 17 minutes. And they were plus 15 when he was on the floor, even though he didn't have much in the way of stats. Zero points, 0 blocks, 0 steals. He did have 6 boards and an assist. But when do you go get those veterans, and how many veterans do you need to pump up your young guys? Because they got 3 young guys in their starting lineup. So it'll be interesting to see how the Jazz handle it. They have to get their young guys into their starting lineup and, get a winning record because Houston went out there and went 52-30, and the Jazz look like they're a long way away from that. I don't think they're a long way away from, 35 wins. I think they could have gotten that this year, possibly. If not, they could have gotten close to it. But how do you get those next 17 wins? That gets a little trickier. So the Jazz aren't there yet, obviously. But I think, watching Houston, who's the 2 seed in this, and the West is deep, and you got to figure it out. Look at the way the Warriors are playing and the way the Wolves are playing. The 6 seed's going to advance, and the 7 seed leads. So that tells you how deep the West is right there. All right, that's some of what went on last night. We got a couple other things to get to here this morning, and we'll do that here in the next hour and get you up to speed. On the list of things, we got a couple interviews for you to hear from. Tim LaComd talking playoffs. We'll get to that coming up. Coady Roark talking football. Interesting guy, came on. He covers Locked On Broncos, Mile High Sports, and there are a lot of Utes there, and a former Cougar to find out what kind of progress he thinks Zach Wilson made in his year there. So we'll do all that coming up later in the hour. Right now, RSL welcomes a new player to town, Johnny Russell. What an accent. What an accent. Great player with Sporting Kansas City, but his production's been falling from 15 goals to 8 goals to 8 goals to 4 goals. He's in his mid-30s, but expected to provide leadership. Here is Johnny Russell with the media, and we'll see if he plays against Vancouver this weekend.
Johnny, how's the altitude treating you?
It's been pretty good so far. I've had experiences here in the past where it's not been so pleasant, so it's actually been pretty good so far.
Why RSL? Why did it make sense to you?
I think at this stage in my career, the project I've got going on here, exciting young team, extremely talented young guys who maybe just need a little bit of experience around, a little bit of help, and that's what I'm here to do, on and off the field, help as much as I can, and lost a lot of experience in the off season here, so I think they were just trying to get some of that back, and obviously got the call to come here, and once I spoke to Pablo, it was a no-brainer after that. And having watched the guys throughout the season, like I said, they're exciting young team, and yeah, I'm lucky to be a part of it. Hopefully I can share some wisdom, some of my experience as well, and help them in the right direction.
And obviously you didn't dress in San Diego, but you were there for your team. What was that like for you, and what excites you about this team?
Yeah, I mean, I got here on the Friday morning, took part in the training session, and then I think it was just a little bit too early to throw me in. But wanted to travel, see how everything worked on game day, and huge result, absolutely brilliant result. Going away from home, especially a team that's done so well at home, getting a great result there. Thought the boys were tremendous defensively, first and foremost. I thought every single guy out there done their job, and then you see the moments of quality, especially from guys like Diego, and you see it in the first goal, the quality that he possesses, and that was another draw for me to come here. Play with guys like him. It's good for me. It's exciting to see that sort of next generation of players coming through.
And a familiar face in Willie Agara. What it's been like to be here with him?
It's been great. It's always good to see familiar faces when you go somewhere new. I know a lot of the guys from playing against them, but it's good to actually have that sort of personal connection with someone as well. But Willie's a great guy who probably needed the change, and I think you'll see the best of the guy. I think he's got all the attributes to be a top striker in this league.
You were out there high-fiving guys after training today. Did you ever think you'd be high-fiving RSL guys after a training session in your career?
Probably not. I don't think anyone would have thought that. But it's just funny how the game works. But no, it was a really good training session, competition day. But it was a lot of fun as well. It's been a little bit of a adjustment for everyone, I think. But it's like I said, I'm just excited to be here, taking part in this. The guys have been very welcoming, and get me integrated really quickly. So it's exciting times ahead.
What have you seen from Diego Luna in your short time here with him?
I mean, I knew all about him before that. He's someone that's tormented me for a couple of years now in games that we've played against him. So well aware of the quality he's got, and you see it in games. But when you get to see it up close on a daily basis, it's only been a couple of training sessions, but you can just see how talented, how confident he is as well, which is a huge thing. And yeah, like I said, extremely talented boy, and I'm looking forward to connecting with him this year.
Going back to Willie a little bit, we asked him about you last week when he first signed.
Oh no.
Kind of coming over you. He beamed. I mean, he absolutely beamed when talking about you. So what kind of a player is he? Because he seems kind of like a guy who fits really well in this RSL system, maybe ironically coming from Coady, right?
Definitely, he's a guy who works hard. He's very, very enthusiastic, energetic, strong, holding the ball up, and gets himself in some incredible scoring positions as well. So you see it in the game at the weekend. He didn't take the chance, but he gets himself in those positions to score regular. And I'm sure the change of scenery, him playing more frequent, I think you're going to see the best of him. Hopefully that's a lot of goals as well. But off the field as well, one of the best guys I've met. Really nice guy. Always smiling, always laughing. So he's a joy to be around, to be honest.
Sure. Obviously, you haven't played at all this MLS season. Where's your fitness? Where are you at there?
I looked after myself extremely well in the off season. I like to, even in the off seasons, I don't take any time off, so I've taken care of myself. There's a difference between being fit and obviously being able to play a full 90 fit, I know that, but I feel good. Had a lot of fitness testing early on, passed all those, and obviously taking part in the training sessions, especially in altitude as well, that will get me up to speed quicker. So I don't think I'll be too far away. I'm working as hard as I can to make sure that I'm available for the weekend. So I think that's up to the staff whether that's going to be the case. But
has Pablo had a talk with you as to how many minutes he's willing to give you every game, or not?
No, we haven't spoke about that. I think it just kind of depends on obviously how the training sessions go, how the games go as well, and we'll just build from there.
When you
When the news broke, did you get a text from Benny Failhaber or any of your former sporting champions? Benny has a special place in his heart for Salt Lake.
Yeah, any of the big rivals. You mean? No, I had a lot of messages from guys that I played with who were just really excited to see me back playing. To be honest, there wasn't any animosity. I understand the whole rivalry thing that some people won't be best pleased, but no, I think people will see very quickly that I'm someone that plays for the badge no matter where I am, and plays for my teammates. So I'm hoping that the people who don't quite appreciate it right now will grow to love it.
People like goals and they like winning, so you take care of those things, everything else is going to work out. Just to follow up on the thing about Willie, what stuck with us, I think, was not only was he really beaming and energetic talking about you, he referred to you multiple times as my captain.
Big captain or my captain,
yeah. My captain. So as a leader, what do you do that engenders that kind of emotion from somebody, that kind of bond?
I don't know. I think obviously I try and be, and I think I do a really good job at being accessible for all the guys, and if it's on the field, off the field, no matter what it is, always been there for them. If they need a little bit of a motivational push at times, I can give that, or if they need an arm around their shoulder just to talk, then I feel like I've got that balance really well. And obviously I completely understand that I'm not captain of the team anymore, but it's still something that I do no matter whether I'm captain or not. I feel like it's just part of me as a person, me as a player, that if you get people comfortable in the environment, you're going to get the best out of them. And I find it very easy to relate to people on that kind of level, and I think that's something, especially for the newer guys that came in to the team, I think it was important to go out of your way and make sure that they felt at home as quickly as possible, because when they feel that, then you're going to get the best out of them as quick as possible as well. And Willie was one of those guys, and like I said, I'm new here, but I think the guys will realise in the short time I've been here that no matter what it is that they need, then I'm always someone they can come and talk to. I've got a lot of experience. I don't know if I'd go as far as wisdom, but yeah, if they need anything on and off the field, then I'm someone who's been around for quite a bit now and seen a lot. So just to be there and be that kind of figure that they can come and talk to.
All right, there is Johnny Russell with the media. Vancouver this weekend, RSL's at Vancouver. Interesting the way this falls. Vancouver's going to be playing for the fifth time in 15 days. They're playing great. They've won 3 in a row. They're unbeaten in their last 9. They just beat Miami and Messi last night 3-1 in the Champions Cup semifinals. So they're going to play a team from Mexico, which will be determined tonight, in the final, and the winner qualifies for the next, not this Club World Cup, but the next one in 4 years. That would be a huge accomplishment for a Vancouver team that's largely just been lousy. Just bad. I'm missing the playoffs. Just nothing. No real identity. Just kind of struggling along. And this is just a spectacular. They're in first place in the West. They've got the best record in Major League Soccer right now, and they just beat Messi in Miami in the Champions Cup in Miami. Just dominated them in the second half. Just absolutely had to weather the storm in the first half, but dominated them in the second half. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with RSL this weekend. But, man, that was a lot of emotion Vancouver spent, and they'll probably, won't be playing their first choice lineup here. A lot of starters will be sitting. They'll be rotating heavily, and I don't know how much emotion they're going to be able to bring. Now, they are unbeaten in their last 9, so maybe it'll be just fine. Maybe they're just that good. But it'll be an intriguing game, and you'll hear that game right here on The Zone. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Coady Roark talking Broncos and talking Utes. We'll get some football, and then Tim LaComd on the playoffs. Stay with us. DJ and PK. This is 97.5 The Zone. DJ PK and Coady Roark is joining us, Denver Broncos beat writer from Mile High Sports and the Locked On Broncos podcast host. Coady, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys today?
Good. The Denver Utes. Just go ahead and change the name. How many Utah players are they planning on collecting over there? It seems like every year another Ute rolls into Denver.
Yeah, it seems like Sean Payton, they find these guys that they like at Utah, and they find a way to, make them work. Obviously, Jonah Ellis last year, Devon Vele, now Caleb Lohner, which, very excited to talk about, the prospects of maybe what he can become here, why the Broncos took a chance on him and whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, you made the comment, Denver Utes. I mean, you could also say the Denver Saints. You can say the Denver 49ers. There's so many different names that they could go with right now.
What's a bigger story in Denver, the hockey team, basketball team, or the draft with the Broncos?
Ooh, this is a great question. I mean, obviously with the Nuggets and the Avs in the playoffs right now, the Avs are kind of struggling. The Nuggets obviously just took a 3-2 series lead over the Clippers last night. So that's a big story. But I think that all the buzz here in Denver has been around the NFL draft, which, is not always normal, especially when the playoffs are there. The Broncos, throughout the last, handful of, 10 years in which they've struggled, even when the draft has happened, they haven't necessarily been the biggest topic of conversation during the draft because you have Nuggets and Avalanche playoffs going on. But that's kind of changed now. The Avs slipping a little bit. The Nuggets haven't played their best this year. So all the focus in Denver now is, hey, the Broncos, they're trending again. So that's, obviously a good sign right now.
Do people feel like the Broncos are trending, or do they feel like they're back?
I think they're trending right now. Look, they got to prove it. I think ideally, a lot of people in the fan base want them to prove it. I mean, the strides that they have taken, though, since Sean Payton has taken over as a head coach, I mean, it's been significant. I mean, obviously, they got off to a really bad start in 2023, starting off 1-5, winning 5 straight games after that, and finding themselves in the conversation of the postseason, but losing some games down the stretch. And then last year, you get Bo Nix, you start 0-2, and you find a way to claw back and find a way to win 10 games last season. And there's just some excitement around Denver. I mean, they've got a really good defense. They've added to that. They've made that even better in the NFL draft. They've made that better in free agency. They've added a key piece in Evan Ingram in the offseason for Bo Nix. And now they've added some key depth here in the NFL draft. Right now there is a lot of excitement right now about the Broncos, where a lot of people are talking about, are they opening up as potential contenders? They still have to prove that, though. That's the number one thing. You can hear people talk about it all offseason, but you got to go out there and prove it. And I know knowing those guys in that locker room, I know that's exactly what they're going to try to do.
If Pete Carroll can get anything out of the Raiders, is this the toughest division to try to get going?
I think you have an argument for it. I mean, obviously the AFC North is always one of those divisions as well. I know the optics for the Browns isn't as great. I'd say when you look at it right now, I'd say you've got 3 teams in the AFC West and you got 3 teams in the AFC North that are very good, that I think probably the North and the West are going to be competing for those bragging rights as the toughest division. I mean, obviously Pete Carroll brings a level of grit to his team. And look, I'm very curious to see how it's going to transform the Raiders culture with everything that they've been going through. And but I still think that they're still a little bit of a ways away, even though that, they got Geno Smith. They've got, their quarterback for the next however many years. I still think that the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Chiefs right now, the Chiefs might also be on the way down. But I think right now the Chargers and the Broncos are the biggest threat to the Chiefs for the AFC West right now.
Will Lutz was 15 of 16 inside of 40 yards. So that puts you down around the 22, 23-yard line for the line of scrimmage. When they bring in Lohner, do you think he's going to have a big role with his team, or is it primarily get in the end zone and win jump balls anytime they get in or near the red zone? Try to cut those 16 field goals in half.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you'd like to be, kicking extra points more so than the amount of field goals you're going to be kicking. Part of me is thinking it really depends on how he does. I mean, Sean Payton told us after they drafted him that, they like the developmental traits that he has. Obviously, he's got really good size. He's very athletic, 40-inch vertical. Obviously, I think his basketball background, you certainly see that on a handful of the touchdowns that he caught. I mean, for him to have 4 catches, 4 touchdowns, it means, hey, okay, this guy's got some fun traits there, but they're in the red zone where he's boxing out a smaller defender. Sean Payton sees the value in that, and I think a lot of it is trying to say, okay, hey, despite your limited sample size as a football player, can we accelerate you? Can we bring you along? I mean, I think very much right now, he's a developmental guy, but how fast he picks up the offense, how fast he picks up, the terminology in the NFL, how defenses are in the NFL. I'm very curious to see how he performs, and I think the preseason is going to be the biggest area where we're going to see him in that category. How is he as a blocker? I think those things matter. I mean, obviously, I think there's a willingness to play in special teams if he's appeared in 12 total games. So I think primarily it's hard to project what his role is going to be, especially with Evan Ingram, veteran like Adam Troutman right now, Nate Adkins, who played a lot last year. I think he's very much going to be in a developmental carve-out a role for yourself type of situation. Also, I forgot, the Broncos have another Utah tight end, Thomas Yasmin, as well. He's also on their roster, and he's not going to count against it because they received the international player pathway designation for him for the second year in a row.
I'm wondering if Sean Payton is a different type of situation, maybe not right off the bat, but he sees something that is kind of a little bit of a freakish type player in Loner in the manner that he did with Taysom Hill. Different player, obviously, but Hill was sort of a freakish player and gained some publicity because he was doing all these things. Not that Loner would do as many different things. Maybe he only does one or two things. Maybe they put him in there to try to block field goals too, but just an oddball type of player. You see any comparison there?
Yeah, no, I think that there absolutely can be a role for that. I mean, Sean likes finding these projects. He's been able to do it before. He's done it with Jimmy Graham. I mean, obviously he's worked with other sizable tight ends like Jason Witten, Jeremy Shockey. He's worked with those guys before in the past. I think primarily for Sean, can they find a role for him where he can handle it? Because the one thing Sean won't do, if he's not ready to do some of the things that Sean's asking, he's not going to put him out there yet. But you mentioned you've got some freakishly athletic traits to work with. You've got ridiculous size that when you're talking about you need a first down or you need a touchdown in the red zone, throw it up to him. He's going to go get it because he can box out some of the smaller defenders. I think that's the ideal vision for him, and they'll probably work him into some things there. But I'm curious to see what more they can do. I mean, you mentioned field goal block. I mean, obviously his height, get him to jump up the line of scrimmage, try to bat down, a pass there. Maybe that's going to be something they try with him as well. But if he doesn't make the active roster, I do think that they store him on the practice squad, and I think that they try to develop him a little bit further.
The one Ute on the Bronco roster we haven't mentioned, Garrett Bowles. That was
you haven't mentioned Coady Barton.
Coady Barton. The 4 years, $82 million. That and 42 of it guaranteed. He has won over this coaching staff big time. That's quite the investment right there.
Yeah, look, and we were wondering last year if Garrett was playing in his last year as a Bronco just because, I mean, they made the decision before last year to release Justin Simmons. Obviously, Russell Wilson was a part of that. We thought, oh, wow, Garrett Bowles, he'd be making $20 million this season, and they could save a certain amount of money by cutting him. They never moved on from him, which was a good sign. And, he kind of put the ball in their court early on in OTAs, and he told all of us, he says, I want to be here. He says, I'm putting it in their hands there. They know I want to be here, and they found a way to come to terms on an extension for him. He's played so well here in Denver. I mean, especially under Sean Payton and the offensive scheme that they've had. He's done a really good job. So I think, for Garrett, he's going to be a Bronco for life. He's become a household name. And really, he didn't start off his career in Denver that great. I mean, people were calling him Garrett Holds. People were, he had different nicknames. But he finally found a way to lock in. Really, they didn't pick up his fifth-year option. He found a way to lock in and develop under, Mike Munchak, and then he earned a contract extension. And he's just grown every single year since. So he's one of those guys we're definitely proud of.
Did you see any development out of Zach Wilson last year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things with Zach that stood out to me, just he seemed more confident. Now, early on in OTAs, everything's fresh. He's still learning the offense at that point. He looked shaky, but once we got to training camp, we saw a different Zach Wilson. He looked more calm in the pocket. He didn't necessarily look to run at the first sense of pressure. And I think he just had a good coaching structure around him with Davis Webb, with Sean. The Broncos had a pretty deep wide receiver room last year in training camp, and it just seemed like there was a lot of confidence that Sean had in him. And look, they said, hey, we want to make you millions, whether it's with us or whether it's another team, and they held on to him for the regular season. He was on the 53-man roster. Zach's got a stronger level of confidence. He looked like an entirely different player, and I hope he can carry that over. He's just a great guy, great leader, and obviously he, in that quarterback room, Jarrett Stidham, Bo Nix, they were so close last season. So I'm hoping he gets an opportunity. I mean, I imagine with the way the Tua plays sometimes and the injury history that Tua's got, I imagine that Miami's going to be seeing a little bit of Zach Wilson this season. So, happy for him. But he took a lot of big steps forward that I was proud of.
Coady Barton had over 100 tackles for the Broncos last year, but now with the Titans, why didn't he stick there? He's been in the NFL a while, although it does seem like he's changing teams now pretty regularly.
Yeah, I mean, Coady was a great fit in Denver. Now, initially when they brought him in, the vision was, hey, this is a guy who's got former starting experience. He can play a lot of special teams for us. Though, granted, when he was with the Commanders, he didn't play any special team snaps there because he was really their kind of full-time starter there, inside linebacker. He wasn't the starter to begin the year, but then you have an injury to Alex Singleton in Week 3, tears his ACL against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then it's Cody Barton and Justin Sternad the rest of the season for Denver. Barton, he brought a lot of energy. I mean, this is a guy who flies around the field, makes a lot of plays, makes a lot of tackles, but the Broncos felt like they could upgrade at that position here this offseason. They wanted to find a linebacker who plays well against the run, who can blitz effectively, but more importantly, when they drop back into coverage in the middle of the field, they want a guy who's rangy, and they went with Dre Greenlaw in that regard there. And so Coady, I mean, there was a chance he could have returned to the Broncos, but their main domino was securing Dre Greenlaw. That was their big push that they made in free agency. And so Barton ended up going to Tennessee pretty quickly because he's going to get an opportunity to play a lot more there than he was here in Denver. But he was a good leader to have in that locker room, and but once again, he was one of those guys that you find, on a year-to-year basis, can he be a serviceable journeyman? I think that's kind of where he's trending right now. But great guy in the locker room, and he was an impact player for them last season.
That's a lot of Utes, and actually a Cougar mixed in there as well. Coady, thanks for getting us up to speed on the Broncos with an emphasis on the local guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Here's Coady Roark talking Bronco and Ute football. A reminder, don't miss Minky Monday on the Zone. Tune in all day next Monday, May 5th, to win Minky Couture blankets. The original classy blanket, Minky Couture, makes the perfect Mother's Day gift. And Zone listeners get 50% off with code ZONE50. Don't miss Minky Monday on 97.5 The Zone. Good morning. DJ and PK is proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. Tim LaComd joined us in yesterday's show. Obviously, at that point, the Lakers hadn't been eliminated. The Warriors hadn't lost to the Rockets. Had a good conversation with him until he started to take shots at me in my advancing age. Ha! Come on, Tim. All right, here's Tim LaComd talking hoops with PK and I. If they want to rebuild, should the Jazz go after Giannis Antetokounmpo?
If he's available, yes. I mean, that's big game hunting, right? And last year, it was widely talked about that Danny brought that term up, but it's something I think the Jazz will be doing every offseason and kind of reading situations around the league, different organizations, what talent could be on the move, and, can the Jazz get involved? They certainly can get involved from they've got enough. They've got enough in their war chest to do something like that, to go hunt a big star. So, yeah, I mean, that goes without saying. I think that is going to be a big part of the rebuild is, attaching some outside resources or outside, guys that become available all of a sudden and the Jazz make a move.
What level of reticence would you have as far as moving any of the guys who've been drafted the last 2 years, plus Walker Kessler? Include him in that mix.
It's always you got to give up a lot of good things to get somebody like Giannis. I mean, I think the Jazz have done a great job over the last few years of acquiring talent and then developing it, and I think they have a good feel for where every guy is. That would be something to be very interesting because at times, throughout the last couple of years, these guys have all shown the ability. It's that consistency that everybody's seeking. And I think that is that's the decision that's got to come from the organization. But I would say yes. I mean, I think when we were talking about a player like Giannis or a player like, if Booker were to be out there, I think you put your best foot forward to try to, accelerate this whole process.
In the case of Giannis, he's signed for 2 years, so I'm assuming that you wouldn't be going after him unless he agreed to sign an extension that kept him here another 4 years or whatever on top of that.
Yes, and that would just be contingent upon him trying Crownburger, and then he'd be here forever because, it's so good.
What do you think, just generally speaking, not individually specifically, that Sexton could command in any form of trade?
It's interesting. I would have thought that, and maybe they were, but organizations would be knocking down the door. I just really am impressed with what I see from him every night. And having had the opportunity to actually see him in college, coached against him in a game out in Long Island, BYU, Alabama, way back when. And so I saw him way early, and then I've seen his development and really impressed, first of all, with just his approach. And then beyond that, I think over the last 2 years, he really attacked the weaknesses in his game, and he's become way more efficient. And so, to me, he's a guy who he could help teams right now that are playing.
Yeah.
And so a guy like him and John Collins, I was surprised that more teams didn't make moves at guys like that, because I think those are the missing pieces sometimes when you're putting together a roster.
Maybe they did make phone calls, but maybe the price Ainge set was, $2 to get one.
Yeah, very possible. And also, from my understanding, the only thing that was really being tossed around was second-round picks and things like that. And Danny's he's great at understanding, A, what he has, and B, what it's worth. And so his ability to wait things out and really, through his patience, create a deal, pretty impressive.
Summer workouts are so important, particularly the younger you are, obviously. What do you think that they're doing with somebody like a Hendricks and a Williams, who obviously Hendricks didn't play and Williams didn't show much when he did play?
Well, I think you saw what Coady's in for with Taylor. I mean, Hendricks has changed his body incredibly over the last 2 years. And, I think a lot can be said for these guys getting into a completely dedicated pro atmosphere where, they've got all these things that they want to accomplish, but they've actually got the time to do it, and they've got the resource and the support. So you see guys make big jumps, and that's what Coady needs more than anything. He was damned a lot of times by just his physique, and Majerus used to say it, PK, he's got just such a bad body.
Yeah, bad body.
But he'll work on that, and he's a relentless worker. That's given, and he's a great kid. I think you'll be surprised when he's able to physically compete. When the tables are a little bit more square, I think he'll show his worth and his value because he's got great skill. It was just a really rough road for him this year, and if anything, that knowledge of understanding what is required from a physical standpoint is going to be at the top of mind. So that's where he's going to attack it. And then Hendricks has just got to get, he's just got to get healthy, because I thought his first little stretch of that game, of the season, was impressive. And he definitely taken a step forward. So he's a guy that I have got a lot of hope for. His ability to guard 1 through 5 in today's game will really come in handy.
And won't his name, because of that, be one of the first across any GM's lips when the Jazz are big game hunting? Kessler and Hendricks, 2 young guys that everybody's going to ask for if the Jazz try to make a move?
Probably those guys. I mean, but I would also say that you could go down the list. I mean, like I said, Sensabaugh had a year where he changed who I thought he was going to be in the league. I thought he was going to be kind of one of those mismatched guys who always kind of took his dude into the mid post and used his skill level, from that perspective. But he's become a straight catch and shoot 3-point shooter, shot 40%, and really elevated and accelerated his ability to get out on the floor, because you can shoot the ball like that. You can really shoot it. So all the Jazz young guys have value. I mean, Collier came in and did such a great job acclimating to the speed, the pace. And I thought he really changed the Jazz when he got in that spot, because he just he sees the floor well, he reads things well, and he's got an unbelievable ability to accelerate.
I saw where Dabanza has arrived in Provo. Only going to be here probably for the one season. It'd be a shocker if it was different. But the fact that he's here, how much can that help in expediting his assimilation for when they hit the court next season? Because obviously expectations are going to be sky high.
Oh, yeah. And it is great when guys get here because – I'm just going to say it. Provo's a little weird at times, and so for guys coming from the outside to get their lay of the land and understand weird, it's important. I saw he was shooting in the house that Rose built last night in the practice facility that that BYU's got over there, and it looked great. I mean, it's still kind of boggles my mind in a lot of respects, but I'm really enjoying it, and I think a guy like AJ can really make a name for himself and do some great things for BYU while he's here.
Have you heard anything that Alex Jensen is doing? Is it all quiet up there? You heard any progress that's being made?
As fate would have it, I reached out to my guy Eric Daniels yesterday to try to figure out the best place to park for Post Malone last night. And he's too new at Utah now with Al up there on staff to give me any kind of pointers. But I found a spot. And in the conversation, I tried to get a hold of him 3 or 4 times during the day, and he kept texting me saying, "We'll call you back. I'm on a Zoom." I'm on a Zoom. So I think that staff is doing a heck of a job thus far at trying to get a roster complete, but it's a fight, and you literally are on Zooms and on airplanes every single day to try to get the thing done. But they're making some good progress, and I like the kid they just got out of Western Kentucky. I think Al's going to be dogged about guys that will compete and play hard and play the right way. So it'll be fun to watch this progress for Al.
What do the rules allow now for summer practice, essentially? Because most of these guys, they'll have a couple of guys that'll return, but the overwhelming majority for the Utes will be brand new guys, new to the program, new to each other, with all that newness. So I'm wondering, they've changed the rules over the years. What is allowable in the summer?
I don't know the rule book past 2019, to be completely honest with you. But I do think they can they definitely have time to work with their teams in the summertime. How many hours and that sort of thing, I'm not sure. But, Eric Daniels actually mentioned to me yesterday that, they don't have enough guys to even do any of that yet. So they're just continuing to try to get guys to come on board. But summer is an awesome time, especially with the new situation where you've basically got a new group of guys every year. It's kind of like mini camp in some respects. And so the more you can work with those guys and get guys on the same page earlier, the better off you're going to be.
A third of the guys have put their names in compared to where it used to be, like 360 something, and now it's down to less than 120 putting their names in of the non-seniors. So you could argue that NIL is good for the game because it's keeping guys around, but yet at the same time they're in the game, but they're not with the same team. So that sort of wash each other away from thinking, okay, this is really good because it allows guys to stay, but yet if they're constantly moving, does that kind of negate staying? You see what I'm saying as far as the team aspect goes?
Yeah, 100%. I think in terms of just the sport, it's good to have that much talent stay. And I think over the years, it was kind of became in vogue for guys who are even closer on the edge to maybe take that fatal plunge without having much of a chance. But now it's set up to where if you're going to go pro, obviously you're going to get paid. But if you stay, there are really good opportunities and options. They just need to clean up. They've got to do a better job of understanding budgets. I had it said to me again this year, there's teams spending, 20-something million, and there'll be teams that don't even spend $1 million on the low end. And so, I mean, the equity part of this has got to be figured out. The business part of it, not to be able to have a commitment and, and have guys leave, maybe extend the length of commitments and those sort of things. So that needs to get ironed out. But for sure, whether they stay at the institution they're at or go to a different place, with less guys going or declaring, that's certainly good for college basketball in a lot of ways, because that talent will stay and the product's, competitive and better and perhaps even a little bit more spread around with the way that it works now.
There was a day when big-time schools would stash guys at junior colleges, and it was arrangements. It was well-known and understood. Do you think that'll happen with the schools that have money and the schools that don't? Will we see that? The Big Sky, the Big West, the WAC, there's just not that much money for most of the teams in those leagues. Will some of them cut some of those informal but everybody understand it kind of deal to stash guys and develop them?
It's possible, and especially now with JC, not going to be counting against you in eligibility. That's going to be major, because if you do have some places you could put guys and have somebody take care of them, then when they get to you, now they're even more developed, and they're basically coming in with all their eligibility. So that's a great point. DJ, you'll look into coaching perhaps in this last stretch of your career.
Yeah, but you wouldn't go and stash somebody at Salt Lake Community, not with that coach, would you?
Well, I happen to like him and trust him. I know he spent a ton of time in Vegas, and that for that reason, you've got to worry about him. But Dave Rice, one of the best dudes ever, and that's exactly the point. I mean, Coach Rose, that's how he kind of got his name down at Dixie.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Guys, Tark coming across the border and bringing a kid that he needed to, he ended up with Keon Clark at UNLV because of Tark. So
yeah, I think Marcus Banks too, huh?
Yeah, and Marcus Banks. Some really good players rolled through the old St. George, Utah, and the old Dixie College.
And Snicky, I don't know if you know it, but you're at the last part of your career, according to Tim.
Yeah, I heard that. Got one foot in the grave. Got one foot in the grave.
Every time I turn the TV on, I'm like, what happened to my young friends?
You're in the last part of your life, big guy.
True story. I'm in the fourth quarter.
Man, I just fed DJ. I owe you lunch. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Wrap it up here before DJ dies.
You're running out of time in a hurry, man. You better make that change if you're going to do it. If you don't do it now, forget it.
Hey, Michael Jackson, make that change?
Let me clean it up. I know I'm old. I'm so old. And you're older than me. So I can say that.
Yeah, there it is.
I mean, it's not like I'm accelerating anything.
I'm nearly dead anyway. You don't have to accelerate it. I'm just, like I said, foot in the grave, man.
Next up.
All right, thanks, Tim, and we'll talk to you next week if I'm still alive. Otherwise, it'll just be PK.
I love you like no other, and I apologize if I offended you. And I'm sorry to have PK making jokes the rest of the show.
It's just my death. It's no big deal. It's a laughing matter to him. We understand.
I've been listening for 30 years, so I know how this works.
Well, yeah, I'd say he's got maybe 2, maybe 3, but I'm not willing to go there.
I'm not going to be around for Giannis's extension. I mean, that's the bottom line right there. Thank you, Tim.
Rest in peace.
When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Here comes Green, hits by Moody, out to Van Vliet, lobs it inside to him, and Thompson will jam it down for 2. 2 minutes remaining, and the Rockets up 18 as Amen Thompson has 25.
Dante wing right. He'll move to his left. He'll fire in a three. It's offline. Rudy got the rebound and slammed it home. A new postseason career high. 27 points and a new postseason career high. 21 rebounds for the big man.
How many more years will we see you play?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Something I'll sit down with my family, my wife, and my support group and kind of just talk through it and see what happens. And just have a conversation with myself on how long I want to continue to play.
Bye-bye, LeBron. You gone. That rhymes. The Lakers are out of here. Let's take a look at the illustrious career of LeBron James, whom I'm a fan of, with the Lakers. In 2019, missed the playoffs. 2020, they won the bubble. But come on, the bubble, we're not going to count that, are we? It can't be counted on the same level as the regular championships, can it? No, it cannot. Argue with me. I defy and dare you.
But they were stuck in that bubble, PK. That made it harder.
Bull dinky crap. Come on, you LeBron lovers. Let's hear from you. What is it, 5-something zone? Yeah.
You want to call in? Yeah, 801-575 zone.
I want to hear all those LeBron lovers. In 21, first round exit. 22, missed the playoffs. 23, swept in the conference final. 24, first round. 25, first round. Do I detect a pattern here? Yes, I do. Rudy Gobert, 27 and 24. Danny Ray, how could you? I'm holding you personally responsible.
It's all your fault, Danny.
We got rid of the malcontent. Some senator or something said something to him on social media, and he went nuts. He couldn't stand it here. A bunch of racists that live here. And so I get that, you had to trade Mitchell, but Rudy Gobert, 27 and 24. Dom-O Nation. And the Timberwolves eliminate the Lakers in 5 games. How about that? And LeBron, yeah, he should say what he said. He doesn't know what's going on. It's just right in the moment of a disappointing playoff. He's 40 years old. The best 40-year-old ever, obviously, in the NBA. Not that there's been many of them.
Well, yeah, he just completed his 22nd NBA season.
He's a superstar of the highest level. There's just no question about that. Just don't be putting him in the same category as somebody else over there. Yeah. I mean, he's really, really good. You want him in your top 5? I'm fine with that. I don't expect 40-year-olds to be carrying teams to the championship, and he's proven he can't do that. That's for sure. And nor should he. Lakers are done. Jazz fans, did it make you doubly happy that the T-Wolves, led by Gobert's 27 and 24, eliminate the Lakers? Or is it bittersweet because it was Rudy? You know?
Man, that's a good question.
Did it make you sad? But it's the Lakers. They're done.
Well, that's the thing. I think Jazz fans as a bunch were more than ecstatic to watch the Lakers go down in flames in the fashion they did. But then there's someone that's like, man, what could have happened if Rudy was still here in Utah?
Rudy. We'll get to some stuff that I heard driving in on NBA radio. Oh, my gosh. The callers, mainly from the East, because it's a little too early in the West, what the Lakers can do to improve. Now, several, including callers and Brian Scalabrine. The Jazz roster was mentioned prominently. Danny Ray, he will be getting some calls, apparently. And in the other game was non-competitive. The Rockets, 131-116 over the Warriors. Man, there you go as far as that goes. That is going to be a very nice series, as it has been. All sorts of controversy. Some dude I never heard of head-butted Sagoon and all that. What does that mean as far as that goes? Actually, Yak, it is the Warriors who are up 3-2. And they still have the opportunity to close it out in 6. And then Steve Kerr whining about they're hitting Curry's hand or his thumb. Huh. And then Ronnie Lott cut off both thumbs. He didn't need no thumbs.
The tip of his pinky finger, but point remains.
No, I heard Van Noy talking about Ronnie Lott saying they cut off his finger. It's what Kyle Van Noy said.
Ask Tom Homo about it. Tom was there. It was the tip of his pinky finger.
I thought that was Rocky Balboa who did that.
That was Rocky? Okay.
Didn't he say, "Cut me, Mick"?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And tonight you got the Knicks and Pistons. And I don't think that's true, Yak. I think you got your playoff brackets a little off. I think it's the Knicks that are up 3-2. And that's at 5:30. And the Clippers and the Nuggets, Denver's up 3-2. Most improved player, somebody named Dyson Daniels. I got no clue who he is. Out of the Atlanta Hawks, I'm not going to pretend I'm all things to all people. I am not. But what I'm going to tell you to do is we're going to the NFL right now.
Hashtag NFL.
First of all, I'd like to publicly apologize to Shadur and the Sanders family for what occurred. Second of all, I want to publicly apologize to Mr. Blank, Terry Fontenot, Raheem Morris, and the entire Falcons organization. My actions of not protecting confidential data were inexcusable. My son's actions were absolutely inexcusable. And for that, we are both deeply sorry. The NFL has taken action, and I fully respect the punishment. We take full responsibility, my son and myself, and we will not be appealing the fine in any way.
Yeah, I don't know how the son can appeal the fine. Now, shouldn't Tyrese Halliburton be held accountable for what his father did if Olbridge here, the defensive coordinator for Atlanta, is being held accountable for what his son did? And I realize he left the computer open.
It was an iPad, but yeah.
You are at home, and it probably didn't dawn on you that a family member, your lineage, was going to go in there and do that.
Well, and this is a 21-year-old young man. Like, he's trying to get what he thought was some clout out of a social media moment, and it backfired spectacularly.
Blew up in his face. Yeah, it was stupid.
But
obviously, it was stupid.
To your point, with the Olbrich family here, obviously, that's one thing. But the Halliburton family, I will give Tyrese credit. He did essentially call his dad out in that postgame press conference.
So did Yolbridge call out his son, too?
He did, yeah.
And where's all these commentators that I see? How come they're not outraged at Tyrese Halliburton's father? Gee, I wonder why. I mean, come on. Let's have some real talk and truth here. Why aren't they outraged about his father coming out on the floor and demanding account? Why isn't the son being not held accountable? Olbridge here is being held accountable, deservedly so. I'm not saying he shouldn't be. I'm just saying, where's the equity? We're outraged over here, but over there, it's not that big of a deal. Come on. I wonder about that. Jets backup Jordan Davis, man. He just can't get his body right. That's too bad. He's the Florida State guy who had that horrific leg injury at the end of the 23 season. FSU was undefeated at that point, and it all went downhill. And he had a fractured, dislocated left ankle. And at 24 years of age, I think that's how old he is, he's announcing his retirement. Yeah, he was tutelaged by Kenny Dillingham, was over there at Florida State at the time. Jacksonville, it's not going to pick up its fifth-year option on former Utes star and first-round pick Devin Lloyd. He was the 27th pick in the 22 draft. Become an unrestricted free agent after this coming season. That guy, he was quite the player for Utah. Maybe the best defensive player I've seen in 30 years for the Utes. In terms of having an impact, he was incredible. I would imagine he'd still be in the league. I don't think he's going to be out of the league, but I understand things in the salary cap era. You've got to do what you got to do. And that doesn't mean he can't re-sign with them, I guess. We'll see. And this is just an unbelievable story, man. Jeff Sperbeck, he's a longtime friend and business partner of John Elway. He died yesterday. Injury suffered when he fell off a golf cart. It was reportedly driven by Elway. Injured Saturday night after attending a concert in La Quinta. I think it was some private gated community. And I guess, was he in it was one of those golf, it's not, they call it a golf cart, but it's not the traditional golf cart.
No, he was in the passenger seat, and something happened where he fell and smacked his head on the asphalt. And
I know, man.
horrid.
62 years old. Wow, that's a rough one. And Green Bay Packers running back Josh Jacobs says he stays in touch with former Vegas Raiders and Alabama Crimson Tide teammate Henry Ruggs, and said Ruggs is working out while incarcerated and is hoping for another chance in the NFL. He completes his prison term. Now, he had that horrific crash himself, driving in one of those main roads on Vegas, got way over the speed, killed a lady and killed the lady's dog. Sentenced to 3 years in prison and could be paroled as early as not this August, but August of 26. Did somebody take a chance on him? Because he was a high pick, wasn't he?
He's a first-round pick, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So that could be a little bit of newsworthy here in the coming year to see what happens there. Was it a DUI too, or just?
Yeah, he was over the speed limit, and he was driving somewhere like 100 and some odd miles an hour. Just horrific. Crashed into this lady's car, caught on fire.
Just blew it up.
Yeah,
man.
Brutal.
Yeah, so we'll follow that. All right, let's move on to MLB.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Somebody has fallen out of the stands.
We need to pause here. I think everybody is just now realizing what has happened, and I'm going to be intentionally quiet here.
Now Baez waiting on a 1-2 on the way, swinging a high fly ball left field. This one's deep, going back to Senzo at the fence, looking up, and it's gone, a home run! Grand slam gives the Tigers a 7-1 lead in the third.
2-1 to Freeman. He swings and he drives one deep to right field. It is back. It is gone. A home run for Freeman. A 2-run shot, and the Dodgers lead it 8-3.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Slayton's 2-1. Swing and a deep drive. Left field. Down for a hit. The Blue Jays win.
Those are some highlights in a low light. You can go look on social media. That Clemente wall, I think they call it over there in right field in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Obviously, Roberto Clemente was a star player for them and a great humanitarian. Fan fell over the 21-foot right field wall. And, boy, it didn't look good. And you can see it. It's all over social media. You see him tumbling down and then smacking on the warning track there. And obviously in critical condition. I don't know what was going on there. I guess we'll get some more news as it becomes available. You heard Frederick Freeman. They pound the snot out of the Marlins.
Frederick Freeman, got it.
Yes. 12-7. And they have 17 hits. But the big story is Gosselin came back, I think the first time in 2 years. They've been battered the last few years with pitching. Well, they just continue to buy more and more.
Yeah, he had the Tommy John, and then he was on his way back, then injured his back last year. Right. Yeah.
And the year before, the last time he was out there, he was like 16-1. And as I like to say, I went to one Dodger game that year, and that's the one he lost.
The one time he's lost in the last, 3 years, you were at it.
Yes. I bought good seats, wanted to see him pitch, and I think they played Washington at that time. I think it was Washington with Juan Soto. Soto is now with the Mets. The Mets are doing great. They did not win. Soto's off to a so-so start. The Diamondbacks got him 4-3 as that National League West continues to be quite intriguing. Diaz and Tatis Jr. homer for the Pods, and they beat the Giants. Or I guess Tatis had 3 hits. As far as that goes, did you see that silly little bench clearing thing between the Yankees and the Orioles? What was that?
If we're going to clear benches for that.
I know. It's a play at second base, and the runner gets underneath, who was it, Henderson, the shortstop.
Yeah, he just took exception to it.
Yeah, and so he's trying to get up, but he's underneath him, and there's a little contact. And next thing you know, you got to have the obligatory bullpen. Should we have what they have in basketball? If you leave the bullpen area to be involved, I mean, you're 10 minutes late as it is, and you're not going to do anything. You're just going to potentially add to the confusion. And do we need to see the bullpen catcher running out there in shin guards in his full gear?
Hey, if you don't, you get clowned on by your teammates. But yeah.
I know. So then put in a rule like they did in the NBA. Although the folks in Phoenix are furious because there was the other night, Porter Jr. comes almost into the paint, and he's not suspended. And the Suns years ago had a 3-2 lead over the Spurs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where Diaw and Amar Stoudemire, after Horry hip checks Nash, and just flies him into the scoreboard thing or the scores table. And they get up. They maybe send a half a foot over the sideline, but they're more running vertically rather than horizontally. And the two of those guys get suspended. And that was so bogus. Yeah, I feel for my Phoenix Suns fans. I've got family that's hardcore, and I know obviously many people. And here, Porter comes almost to the key before if this is coach is pushing him in the other direction, back towards the bench.
Yeah, it was like a no.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if you're going to penalize these guys at this point,
That's a different commissioner, I understand that. But that literally took most likely a title away from Phoenix, which, like the Jazz, does not have one. They've got 2 finals. I think they may have 3 finals appearances.
Correct.
And they're 0 for 3. The Jazz are 0 for 2. And that was the year that the Spurs swept LeBron when LeBron was just getting started. No, that was the Nets. I think it was the Nets. They swept the Nets at that point. And so that was a ripoff. How about this, man? Royals, Noah Cameron. He has a no-no in the 7th in his MLB debut. Oh, my gosh. Is he another Brett Saberhagen?
Oh, okay, can I make one
Please do
complaint about this? So he makes it 6 1/3 innings, gives up the hit, and they immediately yank him after like 79 pitches, PK.
He's young. He's got a tender arm.
Okay.
He's barely getting started. He probably only, most he ever threw was probably 30, 40 pitches.
I don't know. I don't know. I guess I look at the eras past, and Nolan Ryan's over there shaking his head like, what? 79 pitches?
The ghost of Bob Gibson. He completed like 28 games one season.
And then Tom Glavine's over there like, hey, I finished a game on like 79 pitches, so leave me alone.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. I wonder if he would have had like maybe a couple of walks and some full counts and foul balls if he has a no-no in the 8th, but he's getting near that magical 100 pitch mark. Do they take him out?
Probably.
That's what they tend to do on that. Okay, the Bees. You got an update on the Bees?
Yeah, so they won last night in Albuquerque 6-3. Game 3 in the series, actually a daytime affair today, PK. It would be a 10:50 pregame, 11:05 first pitch down there in Albuquerque. Tony Park's on the call.
All right, right on. All right, let's move on to golf.
#golf.
You got the CJ Cup Byron Nelson this week. The CJ Cup Byron Nelson. Zach Blair and Patrick Fishburne are in the field. Brent Snedeker and Jeff Ogilvy are going to be the President's captains for the 26 President's Cup. Obviously, Snedeker representing the US of A, and Jeff Ogilvy, Australia. And today, down at Black Desert, who is our title sponsor, Black Desert, Utah's premier golf resort, the LPGA gets underway in, technically it's Ivins, but we all call it St. George.
The greater St. George area.
At the Black Desert LPGA, yeah. And that's been going on. A friend of mine played in the Pro-Am yesterday, and I hate him. I asked him how'd it go. So damn much fun. Stood on the first tee, and everyone watching and announced my name. Didn't think I was nervous, but my heart was pounding. Man, there we go. He got to play with Brooke Henderson on the back nine. She is a Canadian LPGA player. Said she was so nice.
Well, I guess one other thing on the LPGA front, Allie Mulhall, a local star, making her first LPGA start at Black Desert via sponsor exemption. She's actually going to turn pro. She's not going the college route. She's going to go pro right away.
A la Tony Finau.
Yeah.
But, of course, Tony Finau would have gone to Utah.
Oh, hey. Apparently it was committed to a certain other program.
I asked Whittingham point blank. Oh, he's a Ute. And Kyle and his hard sell. He's a Ute because he won a tournament. What was it? Was it Detroit? Which one did he win?
The Rocket Mortgage one up there.
Or was it did he win the Canadian Open? He had those two tournaments.
He won in Minnesota and Detroit back to back.
Minnesota, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was
either one, but it was late in the year, the golf year, and Utah was already practicing, and Kyle got to his press availability a little later, and I said, "Hey, did you hear about Finau?" And he was a little upset because he was taping it, but I told him, I said, "What?" And I asked him, "Who does he root?" Oh, he's a Ute. Tony Finau has that tug of war going on between BYU and Utah. Maybe one of these days he's going to have to come clean. You can't be both. Cannot be both. No. If you're both, you know what you are? You're a TV weekend sports anchor.
We're going to have to pin him down and say, Tony, which is it?
All right, let's move on to hockey.
#NHL.
Bennett out of the box, maybe a 2-on-1. Yes, it is. Bennett, right circle, walks in, shot, and he scores! Fresh off serving the penalty. Sam Bennett takes the pass, bolts into the right circle, and the Panthers are up by a 4-3 score with 4:47 to go here in the second.
And the power play starts now. Ovechkin scores! The face-off win to him. Bang, bang, see you later. Ovechkin makes it 1-0, Washington.
Washington, one of those teams that has got a bunch of young guys. Obviously, Ovechkin is not one of them. But maybe the Utah Mammoth can follow them. I'm done with the hockey club, by the way. They're done with it, even though they put it down and took it down, I should say. And
we're still evaluating.
Exactly. So, yeah, we'll see if the Mammoth can be like the Capitals. And they eliminated Montreal in the 5-game series win. The Panthers, they scored first, and then they went on to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. And they've got the 5-game series win. Jets and Blues. Winnipeg. Oh, man. The Blues, barely getting in at the end there. And the Winnipeg, the best in the regular season. Well, they go up 3-2. That was a big win. I was watching some of that one last night. Because that first game in basketball was quite boring with Houston just rolling over the Warriors. It was non-competitive. Tonight, you got Toronto trying to close out Ottawa. That's at 5. Vegas trying to eliminate Minnesota, 5:30. Dallas, they're up 3-2 on Colorado. Exactly what they were last year when they beat Colorado in, the Ball Arena now? In Denver. Yep. See what happens there. And then you got Edmonton, and they're trying to finish off the Kings later on at 8 o'clock. That is what is trending, and you are up to date at what we'll be talking about. What is trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There is no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Okay, Jazz fans, what is your emotion as the Lakers get eliminated? Glad for sure, but you've also got Rudy, our guy. We found him. We developed him. We made him into what he is, and to see him go off and dominate like that, is that a little bittersweet, mixed emotion? Who are you furious at? How you hanging on? Where are you? Let me know. Let Yak know. Stay with us. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Travis Hunter said that playing both ways in football is harder than what Shohei Ohtani does in baseball. A corner and a receiver, you're basically using the same skill set. Shohei Ohtani is playing two different positions that are completely unrelated. Being a good pitcher has absolutely nothing to do with being a good hitter. That's like being really good at algebra and poetry.
You're Leonardo da Vinci. You're not Stevie Wonder. It's like, yeah, Stevie Wonder's a great drummer and harmonica player and guitar player and piano player. It's like, yeah, he's musical. Da Vinci being the greatest painter of all time and maybe our greatest inventor. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah, that's not the same thing.
What were you working with?
It's like Carl Lewis being good at the 100 and the 200.
What? How?
How is that even possible?
He's fast.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Whew. Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Now, we had on Tim LaComd, and, he was talking about how DJ is winding it down, but I didn't think the ending was here already.
A day later, he's gone.
Yeah. Well, that seat to my left, you can get on the website and see me. How you doing out there? And then right there to my left, it's vacant. I know, when the guy's not in there, you don't get to see that, but I'm just telling you. I mean, DJ's getting up there. There's no doubt about it. I pray that he'll be back tomorrow, but who knows? When you're on the brink like that, you just don't know. No, he'll be back tomorrow. All's well. Okay, man. Hot takes or toast? How you feeling, Jazz fans? LeBron gone, but Rudy, arguably, the best game he's ever played. And 27 and 24. Watching the game, you could just see how active he was, man. He was looking to dominate because the Lakers have nothing, literally nothing in the middle. And so what are they going to do there? And Rudy figures, hey, this might be my time to shine. And Anthony Edwards is not shooting well. So they from the perimeter, they didn't shoot well at all.
They missed 40 3-pointers.
I know.
7 of 47.
It's so stupid how they just keep jacking them up like that. I'll never understand. I don't care what some nerd with a white shirt and pencils in his front pocket says. I just don't care. And greasy hair, greasy smile. He says, Lord, this must be my destination. I don't understand it. But Gobert at the rim, dunk this, dunk that. Thank you. Dunk you very much. Chris Finch, the coach of Minnesota, it was obvious Gobert was electric. Let's hear what the coach has to say.
Listen, Rudy's a winner at the highest level. He drives winning. You can not like who he is, how he does it, what he looks like, etc. I mean, when you have this guy on your team, you understand what a professional and a winner is. And, he's just such a competitor as well. And he doesn't listen to the outside noise. We don't listen to the outside noise. And no one's happier for Rudy than his teammates right now, particularly Anthony. Let everybody out there on the floor know that it was Rudy's night and nobody was around to stop him.
Nobody was around to stop him. It's Rudy's night. Jazz fans, what do you think about that? Your guy that you brought up, a G Leaguer, and nurtured him, and now he's gone because Donovan Mitchell didn't want to stay here? They needed some flexibility. There was no other way. That was the only way they could get flexibility, was by getting rid of both of them. And he had the fat contract. Was he worth it? Well, the Timberwolves are thinking yes right now. How do you feel about it? I was a little torn. I want to see Gobert do well. I thought he was always good in the media. He had something to say. He wouldn't duck interviews and whatnot. That's what I look for. Most fans don't care about that. I understand that completely. Or is it just the fact that the Lakers lost and so freaking be it? It don't matter as long as they gone. LeBron gone. He gone. Right? Put it up on Facebook. Jazz fans, how you hanging on? Where are you? The ultimate question. Joe, LeBron should retire already. Why? Why should LeBron retire already? I disagree with that completely. I mean, he may not be the premier player he was, but he's still really good. He wants to play. He's not. I don't think LeBron is hanging on. He may not dominate 82, but nobody plays 82 anymore anyway. And he may not dominate in the playoffs, which he hasn't for a good while. But he's still a very effective player. And he needs to take some time to reflect and see what he wants to do. The word I had heard from, I got somebody who's tight with the Lakers, because he had told me years ago that the Lakers were going to get LeBron. He told me the season before, they know he's going to play out his option there, be free agent, sign with the Lakers. That's what they're anticipating. And sure enough, that's exactly what he did, saying that the All-Star festivity spiel, I want to call it the festivities, the weekend rather than the game, because the game is nonsense. Maybe they're talking about changing it and play.
It's festivities. You've nailed it.
And it is at the arena there in downtown. I don't know, whatever they're calling it now these days, in downtown L.A.
Crypto.com arena.
And so maybe he wants to be there for that, and the 25-26 season would be his last. And that makes sense. But his play on the court, it reminds me at a higher level than what Letter Carrier had. I mean, Letter Carrier retired, but he still had more in the tank. He could have played. He wasn't what he was. Same thing. LeBron isn't what he was. He's better at this age than I think Letter Carrier was. But he's still an effective ball player. So I disagree on the same sentiment that some folks might have that LeBron should retire. If he wants to come back, he's a good ball player. Spencer, today is a good day because the Lakers lost. De juro, I guess that's how you say it because that's the way DJ says it. His emotions, same as the Jazz won. Really? That's a little strong for me. Your emotions are the same as the Jazz? If the Jazz would have won themselves, the Jazz were moving on to the second round because the Lakers are out. Tron says, surprised they made the playoffs? Nah, they had a playoff team. Brian, he's more concerned that the Jazz don't blow the draft selection this year. Me too. But I think it's almost impossible to blow it. We'll see. What are we now, about 10, 11, 12 days away from the draft lottery?
We're 11 days away.
11 days out. Oh, I'm starting to get nervous.
We've got the hockey club's on the same position, but they are part of the NHL lottery, which comes up next Monday. The following Monday is the NBA.
Right, but their franchise is in a much better position. I mean, they were well over 500 this year.
Correct, and to your point, they get the first pick. It's hard to screw that up. You know who you're picking.
Right, yeah, and I think they will. When tomorrow starts to get 10 days under, I'm going to start to get nervous. I'm going to be like DJ on his wedding night. I'm going to get nervous. You know what I mean? Big things are about to happen. We'll see about that. I think they're going to win. So I think it's going to happen. The question should be what got into Rudy with 27 and 24? Well, I think that, they didn't even play a center, the Lakers.
Yeah, Jackson Hayes was glued to the bench.
He did not play, and he interviewed after the game. He said they told me they were going to try something different.
And I will give – did you see the Mark Williams tweet he put out last night?
I did not.
So he's the big man that they canceled the trade on due to some pretty spurious nonsense. He put out like a muted smiling face emoji like, oh, I wonder if I could have helped in that circumstance.
Maybe so. We'll never know. That trade, that was weird. He didn't pass a physical, and then he's back with Charlotte.
Well, that's
the next game.
The Lakers executed the trade. They're the ones that asked for the trade.
Yeah.
They bring him in, fail his physical, which Charlotte's like, oh, no. He didn't fail anything. He goes right back and plays the rest of the season with Charlotte.
I know, that was weird. Maybe Charlotte has lower standards? Those people in Charlotte?
L.A. doctors got a high standard to uphold?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they got to make sure all those celebrities look good. How else is Demi Moore going to look like she's 25 years old forever? You know what I mean? And Cher, oh my gosh. What's Cher, 107 now? She still believes in life after love, though. That's for sure. She's got me, babe. Let me tell you about it. So they got a lot of stuff to be doing over there. So maybe they didn't do it. I don't know. The Lakers need some help. That's for sure. So I think, why did Rudy go off? There was nothing there to stop him. And his teammates were looking for him. And I don't watch Minnesota play every game by any stretch, but I talked about at the beginning of the postseason that I'm way into the West. Each of the series in the West had my attention. So I got rid of the Houston Warrior game fairly early. Steve Kerr pulled the plug in the third quarter, as he should. That they weren't going to win that game. Houston was just shooting the lights out of the ball and all that stuff. So I support Kerr in basically waving the white flag way earlier than you might think. And I waved the white flag on that game too. But the Western Conference game, the second game, Minnesota and the Lakers, watching that, particularly early, you could see that Gobert knew that he was onto something. It's the way he was moving, the way he's a little awkward sometimes when he gets the ball, but there was nothing there to stop him. There was one possession. It seemed like he tried to flip it over his head. It just wasn't there, but he got the rebound. I think eventually the ball got stripped from him, but he got rejected a couple of times. But it didn't deter him at all. And he just seemed like he had the fire. He was ready to go. He knew he had the opportunity to have a big game.
And that's exactly it. The other thing is, PK, we talked all the time when he was here in Utah. I remember Locke talking about screen assists. We heard that from Quinn Snyder.
Yeah.
They would mention that all the time. Well, his sliding off, like pin downs, the different screens he was setting last night, he would pin a guy down and all of a sudden just dive to the rim, and there was nobody there to stop him.
Right.
So, yeah, to your point, he knew he was going to be having free reign in the paint, and he made the most of it.
He did. And it seemed like he had a spring in his step to get some easy buckets. And most of the buckets he gets are dunks, obviously. But some dunks are harder to come by than others. And it seemed like he knew he could get easy points. I mean, Reggie Miller, when's the last time Rudy scored 20 points? And I think that was in the first half.
Yeah, he was rolling.
Yeah. Good for him, man. Good for him. I mean, obviously you got to be born and have that height. But other than the height, I don't think that there was a guarantee that he was going to be a prominent NBA player. The point I'm making is that he had to work for it. He really had to work for it. So I felt good for him. And Conley, Joe doesn't play, so I don't. And he's collecting a paycheck, so good for him. But Conley, what they say about him being one of the all-time good dudes, it's legit. Sometimes that gets blown up, and it's more image than not. Being around Conley a little bit away from the court, I think that's legit. He's a decent dude. He's been in the league 18 years. How about that? 18 years. Wow. That's a long time. He's not a premier player. I don't know that he was ever a premier player. He was very good, and maybe he's a notch below that. But I wouldn't mind seeing Minnesota go all the way for their sakes. We'll see. A lot of people are dancing, Jazz fans, on the graves of the Lakers right now. But how about if we're 2-3 series away, will it be a little melancholy? Or would you just be happy for Rudy? And I know that the Nickeil Alexander-Walker there, I think that's his name.
Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Alexander or Alexander Walker?
It's Alexander Walker.
Oh, he was just here for a cup of coffee, so to speak.
Yeah, but Joe Ingles, Mike Conley.
Ingles sits the bench.
Yeah, but
more of a cheerleader. But he's still getting a paycheck, so good for him.
Yeah, he's still in the league.
Yeah. So, and, he's trying to help in the ways that he can. So Minnesota dispatches the Lakers. The Lakers are done. What can the Lakers do to get better? Wow, man, this morning driving in, listening to the NBA Network, a lot of Jazz names mentioned. We'll get to that next. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The artist of the day, it is Tug McGraw's son, former Mets and Phillies reliever, we believe, Tim McGraw, his 58th birthday today. It is brought to you by Live Nation for all the live concerts and events in 2025. Check out livenation.com. Tim McGraw, the spouse of Have a Little Faith Hill. So funny.
Have a Little Faith Hill. That's a good little line. That's a good line there.
Do you got faith in Jazz management being able to do the right thing? Because I'm driving in this morning well before the light of day. And I should be able to claim that on my taxes because I listen to a lot of that sports stuff on that serious stuff. And I get information.
And so Scalabrini's talking about the Lakers. Obviously, them being eliminated is a topic. Depending on where you are in the country, it's the topic. And it is the Lakers, and it's LeBron, and they're always going to be newsworthy. He was talking about the big hole that they've got in the middle, the donut, for sure. They don't have anybody. They literally didn't even play anybody who was even considered a center. And he said that the answer to the Lakers' problems, you know what he said, Yak? Can you imagine?
Would be one Walker J. Kessler.
Yes.
And I just put J in there for fun.
The future spouse of Miss America.
Yep.
If they get married and all that stuff. I don't know about that. Yes, he went right to Walker Kessler.
He's not the only one.
He's not the. That means there are others then.
I saw it last night on social media. People were pontificating what the Lakers might do in the offseason.
Yes. And Scalabrini, who does he does the TV or the radio for the Celtics?
He's the TV analyst. At least I know part-time he does TV.
Yeah, and then he does the NBA radio in the morning. And so he at least has some form of a relationship with Danny Ray. And he says Danny Ray covets the Lakers pick. Now, what pick is that?
Hold on.
Because they have the Lakers pick protected in 27, right? Protected top 4, I guess.
Correct. They have in 27. I'm just looking to double check to see where the next one is up for.
Is it 31? Anyway, the draft pick that they've got that would be unprotected, that he's excited about getting that pick. It's just Scalabrini is saying what Ainge wants. And you never know what's going to happen as far as a team being good or bad and all that stuff. Because, they still have Doncic. And what do? And the Lakers are an attractive organization, obviously, a destination. It seems like that they want to have that opportunity to go there, a lot of players.
It is the 2031 pick. That's the next one they can convey.
So with that in mind, would you do that? Because then they took a call. I think it was Scalabrini said this too. Mentioned another guy. You know who the other guy was on the Jazz? I thought it could really help them. If they have some type of deal in which they give away a draft choice in Austin Reeves. He went right to Colin Sexton.
I was going to say, it's got to be Sexton.
Yeah. And then a caller from North Carolina. He went right to Lowry Marketing. So everything that ails the Lakers is right here. The solutions, the opportunity to get better resides right here in Salt Lake City, Utah. How about that? You buy that?
Get Danny Ray on the phone, Lakers.
I mean, certainly he should listen.
He'll always listen.
But another pick down the line in Austin Reeves. Reeves is a nice player, particularly where he came from.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He's an undrafted free agent. And
I would take Reeves as a bench role. Oh, he's a starter caliber guy now.
But for Kessler, for Sexton, for Marketing, no, and no. I don't think so. I got to get more. And maybe Reeves can be a better player if he takes on a more prominent role, but I don't need better players on losing teams. I need better players on winning teams. We saw it with the Jazz this year. These guys like Johnny Juzang would have big games and Sensabaugh. I mean, those guys are nothing but role players. So they can go ahead and go off. But if you can go off on a playoff winning team, that's going to catch my attention. It's nothing against those guys because they haven't had the opportunity to play on those teams. And for Marketing, literally everything he does is with a losing team. And I think he's got immense talent and can be on a winning team for sure. But I'm hesitant to blow up a guy like Reeves, who is decent. What they were talking about this morning really didn't get me excited from the Jazz perspective, giving up those guys.
There needs to be more if you're going to.
Yeah, and I just don't know what else the Lakers have. I mean,
they don't.
Got an assortment of Hachimura.
Yeah, no.
So it's okay.
Yeah, Rui's not going to do it for you.
But they got a bunch of guys like him already.
Yeah.
So
Jazz already know what Jared Vanderbilt is.
Which is nothing. And, I mean, he's a nice big guy, but he's not going to win you anything. I mean, Redick barely would play him. Okay, well, coming up, where is LeBron on the list? What is his leg OC? We've got a Jazz expert who's going to join us. He watches every single game and has for many years. Nobody knows the Jazz more like this guy. He'll join us next as my guest host sitting in right here at 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Do you believe in karma? If you do, then log on to KSLSports.com to help raise money for a great cause and create some good vibes for the Utah Jazz and the NBA Draft Lottery, which they're going to win. It's the KSL Sports Zone's 2-for-1. Donate at least $2 to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital in hopes of the Jazz recouping winning basketball here in Utah. Go to KSLSports.com and donate your $2 today. Yeah. Good band. Tim McGraw jamming. Jake Scott, you digging this?
No, but I'm not really a huge country guy, as you know.
Then you need to convert, you fool.
I'm good.
No, you're not. You're bad.
I'm good. I've got.
When I've been a bad boy. All right. You're Mr. NBA. You're rivaling Snigeldorf for who knows more. You two like to just spout your knowledge on the NBA. I just sit back.
I can't compete with David James. Are you kidding? But yeah, I am excited to be on Laker Talk this morning. It's good. The whole 7 o'clock hour is all Laker Talk all the time. I'm here for it. You must be devastated today. I tease you for being a Fielderback fan in Major League Baseball because you have 3 baseball teams. But in the NBA, it's only one. It's only one.
And which team have you assigned me?
The Lakers.
The Lakers.
Just love it. Is Larry coming on today? Do an autopsy on the season?
Let me get him on the line.
Larry. And you realize I have lived in communities with a total of 6 NBA teams.
And you grabbed the Lakers. I don't know.
Why did I do that?
I have no idea. You tell me.
I profess my love for the Lakers at all times.
I know.
I know you know.
I know.
You know I know you know.
I know. The Jazz would never trade Walker Kessler for anything the Lakers have to offer because the Lakers don't have anything to offer. It's not worth talking about.
But Scalabrini says that
guy
Danny
lives in
Ray.
Boston. He doesn't
I know,
anything.
and he had that connection. So did Danny Ray. He may still have a house there for all we know. He voted for Mitt Romney, I believe.
Who did?
Former governor of Massachusetts.
Danny Ainge voted for Mitt Romney? For president or governor?
I said governor. Did you hear what I just said?
All right.
There's all sorts of connections between Boston and the Jazz and Utah.
Okay. But why would the Jazz do that? Well, the Lakers don't really have any picks to trade.
Scalabrini says he covets the pick. He wants an unprotected pick. I agree with Scalabrini saying that Walker Kessler would solve a lot of their problems in the middle. So I can agree. You can agree with that, can't you?
Oh, sir. I can see why the Lakers would want Walker Kessler. I couldn't see why the Jazz would trade Walker Kessler to the Lakers for an unprotected first-round pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't see it. Although I could see the betting on the Lakers sucking. That could absolutely be a thing.
So then it would be a high pick.
That would be the gamble, right?
Yeah. I mean, every trade, every selection,
I think most people,
to one degree or another, is a gamble.
Most people would tell you, though, with the Lakers landing Luka and the odds of them bottoming out are lower than they used to be.
But I could see that. But what does Doncic want out of his NBA career? Does he just want to score a bunch of points and not get himself in tip-top shape? What's he looking for?
Yeah.
What drives that man?
I would guess you just nailed it. But I'm not a big Luka guy. You're not talking to somebody who's a big Luka guy. But you trade for him, and the idea is you've got to compete. I mean, you're not going to trade for, in theory, a top 5 player in the NBA and then reboot around.
Well, I mean, they're the Lakers. They're expected to compete every year.
Which is kind of how they carry themselves. But
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do it, because the problem with LeBron is you have to give him your whole team. And then he trades away and squanders every asset. And then when he leaves, your franchise is basically in ruins. At least that's what he did to Cleveland twice. And that's what he's in the process of doing to the Lakers.
Yeah, okay, but some would say a title along the way is worth the ruination.
No, I don't even count that. To the Mickey Mouse title? The
Well,
bubble
I was
title?
saying Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland, sure. And I'm sure that their fans would tell you it's worth it. It doesn't make it different, though. They had to completely start over with no resources. I mean,
And
that's
yet
just
here
what
they
happens.
are with the best record in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, 8 years later. I mean, good for them for rebuilding
When
it.
the
But
Jazz, they're going to be, next year will be halfway to that.
Yeah.
You think in 8 years they'll get the best record in the Western Conference?
well, I don't know. You have to do things right. And Cleveland, even outside of the Donovan Mitchell move, did a lot of things correctly.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have
Yeah.
to do it right.
Right.
And the Jazz starting point in the rebuild was better than where Cleveland started, because they were able to flip Donovan and Rudy for resources, where the Cleveland had nothing. They lost LeBron to free agency, and they had nothing.
But yet, look where they are 8 years later.
Right.
I don't think the Jazz, I wouldn't expect them to have the best record 8 years after trading those guys.
No, I think Cleveland's overachieved. You should you give the Cavs all the credit in the world.
Right, because you're a Donovan Mitchell lover.
I liked covering Donovan.
I know you did.
You did.
Not to the degree you did.
I don't know about that.
I never got into this, though. He was raised well and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I never did either.
I don't care about that.
I like it that he would always talk, and he would always make comment, and he didn't shy away from it. He didn't duck media availability. Now, I don't like what he said all the time, but he wasn't the guy who was trying to sneak out of the locker room. And
I appreciate his willingness to be accountable as a leader of a team. I 100% agree.
And he's a great player, but his shortcomings will be why Cleveland loses to
His
Boston.
shortcomings is literally that. Short.
He's short. Yeah, that's part of it. But he wants to do this. This drove me nuts. We can talk about Donovan and Rudy. I heard you talking about them leaving together earlier today. But Donovan always had this thing where he had to win it. He had to be the guy who dominated in the fourth quarter to win. And it always drove me crazy. Speaking of accountability, it drove me crazy when they'd lose and he'd go and talk after the game and say, I'm the team's best player. I have to be better. That always bugged me.
Why?
I I fell short and I'm aware of that. I like that part of it, I suppose. But first of all, to call yourself the team's best player, other people could call you that, but to call yourself the team's best player is funny to me.
But if you're acknowledging the obvious, what's wrong with that?
Well, one, it's not obvious. I don't think he was obviously
Who's better than him?
Rudy?
No, they're two different types of players.
I agree with that, but
he's talking
that's
about from the
thing.
offensive end.
Anyway, like if you called yourself the best host on the
Which
station,
I am.
That would bug me. But anyway, the point being is that, no, he didn't have to be better. The team had to be better. He's not good enough to do it on his own. He's not tall enough to do it on his own. He's too easy to take out of the game. And the Jazz would lose because he would run into triple teams in the fourth quarter all the time, and he sucks at it. And they would blow these leads and lose games. And then instead of saying like, well, I got to get others involved, because we got to win this game as a team.
Well, isn't that what he's saying?
No, he's saying
I got
to be better. Yes, no.
So
I don't want you to be better.
That's a general statement. That's an umbrella statement to where I've got to get everybody better.
I want Rudy better. I want Mike Conley better. I want Royce O'Neal better.
Sure, but why didn't they say the same stuff? If everyone takes individual accountability, then maybe you got something.
But what he was saying is, I've got to dominate in the fourth quarter. That's what he was saying. I've got to dominate in the fourth quarter.
You thought he was selfish?
Yes. And he's not good enough to dominate in the fourth quarter. Watch how Cleveland plays. He does the same stuff in Cleveland. It's the reason that they'll lose to Boston.
The reason why they got to have the best record with Donovan Mitchell being a significant factor is the reason why they'll lose to Boston? So you're pinning it on Donovan Mitchell.
He's good. He's not that good. Well, he will pin it on himself. That's my point. He shouldn't.
I understood. You'll pin it on him. I've got no problem with him saying I've got to be better.
And by the way, the Jazz with Donovan Mitchell had the best record in the league. How'd that go? Once it came playoff time, they couldn't beat the Clippers without Kawhi because Donovan wasn't good enough to play like that.
Whoa. Beep, 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 beep. Back it up, brother. In the closeout game, he goes 39, 9-9. What did you want him to go? 49, 19, and 19?
I'd rather have him go 29, 9-9 and get somebody else involved to win in the fourth quarter.
How about Quinn Snyder make up a defensive plan that didn't allow Terrence Mann to go off? Terrence Mann, he's a fictional freaking author in Field of Dreams, not a NBA superstar.
I don't disagree. I mean, they lost that series for that reason too. But my point is that
they didn't lose that series because of Donovan Mitchell.
Well, he will tell you he wasn't good enough because that's what I'm talking about.
So he shouldn't say that. He shouldn't be humble. And
I don't think that's humble. That's like
humility.
It's a humble brag.
I got to be better.
No, it's not humility.
Yes, it is. I got to be better. What do you want him to say? Hey, I'm damn good enough. These other guys suck.
That's what he says.
He says that a lot.
That's what he says. That, like, in his statement, that's what he's saying. These other guys aren't good enough to win.
Well, they weren't.
So I've got to be better.
They weren't.
It's a team game.
But the superstar gets the credit.
I don't care.
It's like Tom Brady's won 7 Super Bowls. His record in the Super Bowl is this and that. We assign records to quarterbacks as if they're pitchers now, and that's your legacy, is your record. Tom Brady won 99 on the field when they get the interception against Seattle, but somehow he gets all the credit. Well, it's the same thing in basketball with the best player. You get all the credit.
I think that's stupid.
Especially that's the reality of the situation.
I don't have to agree with it.
You don't, but that's the way everybody else does.
Well, everybody else is wrong. It's not my fault. Especially
you got to be better.
Especially in football, where it's a team game, man. Football's
the ultimate team game.
The ultimate team game. So why would I don't
but
like?
That's what they do.
I don't like how we assign only value on Super Bowls. I don't like any of that.
That's what we do.
Like so what?
That's what we do.
Who would you rather have playing quarterback for you, Trent Dilfer or Dan Marino?
That's what we do. Did Dilfer win a Super Bowl?
Yes.
With who?
Was it Baltimore or Tampa Bay?
He was the Ravens.
It was Baltimore.
Yeah, with the Ray Lewis defense there.
Yeah.
It's the Haloti Ngata defense, buddy.
Was Haloti playing at that point with them?
Who would you rather have, Brad?
Was it 06 or 13?
That was the 01.
Yeah, it was like
Ravens.
01. Yeah, it was like a long time ago.
Oh,
that's Ray Lewis's team.
So they got 3 Super Bowls? Didn't they win? Didn't Billick won?
Billick won 1.
And then Harbaugh.
Harbaugh's won 1.
Yeah, they got 2.
But I thought Billick won it like in 06. I mean, I could be wrong.
I'll look it up. I'll pull a David James.
He's pulling the DJ right now. He's typing. Yeah, we got this.
Yeah, but I want to know this one. I don't want to know when Wyoming dropped its baseball program.
Oh, yeah. Why am I playoff appearances worth Super Bowl?
Because Billick won 1, didn't he?
Billick did win 1, yes.
Yeah, and Harbaugh.
That's that 01 team, I'm fairly sure.
Harbaugh games.
2000 and 2012, PK.
So it's 2000, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Billick one. And
so Trent Dilfer won it in 2000 with the Ravens. So the whole point is using just Super Bowls as your measuring stick.
I know, but that's what we do in terms of who's the greatest quarterbacks. Whether you like it or not, that's what everybody does.
It's dumb. And you know what? I don't fall in love with stats either. You mentioned Donovan Mitchell's stat line.
Fall in love with a dreamer.
Like you're.
Only break your heart.
You love Devin Booker.
I love Devin Booker. Now I'm a Phoenix fan. You got me all over the map.
His 70-point game came in a loss. He's had 70 points in a game, and it came in a loss. He scored 60 against the Jazz, and they lost by 25.
Okay.
So, if he would have played differently, would they have won? If he would have involved his teammates, would he have won? But that's my point. We fall in love with stats. We fall in love with Super Bowls or championships or whatever, and we think it's the end-all, be-all. And forget, it's a team game, and it's about winning. And Luka Doncic, if you hold the ball the whole game and make the whole team stand around and watch you play basketball and you lose, it's your fault. You should have played differently. You should have involved other people. You lost playing that way. LaMelo Ball, I had a conversation with Booner. We were doing crosstalk or whatever. And he goes, what do you think about LaMelo Ball? And I said, he's not good enough to play that way. And Booner said, what are you talking about? I said, he's going to set the NBA record for usage rate on a 14-win team. So him holding the ball the whole game and putting up all those stats doesn't work. It doesn't beat
so then
other
nobody
teams.
on the Jazz works.
No, I'm saying
because they don't win, and whoever puts up stats, nothing works. Just apply the same logic to LaMelo Ball. It's easy to crack on some dude in Charlotte because there ain't no accountability for that. How about we crack on the local dudes because they're putting up stats and they ain't winning, so what the hell's the difference?
But do the Jazz have a player that plays like that holds the ball the whole game?
I'm not watching LaMelo Ball that much.
But does
Jordan Clarkson.
Dude, yes, and Jordan Clarkson drives me nuts. And I think there's a reason why.
He's beloved around these parts.
He is, fine. I like Jordan Clarkson, the person. I mean,
I don't know him, the person.
Well, that's true. But I think his
Nor do I care to know him.
No, I don't either. But he's pleasant with interviews. He's decent to interact with.
Sure.
His Channel 2 moment, man on the street thing was hilarious.
Funny as all get out.
He
seems like a decent guy.
Yeah, seems to appreciate our community, all those sort of things. But yeah, I don't want to watch Jordan Clarkson dribble. I never liked it. He came in and played a role for Quinn Snyder because he didn't have a bench. So Quinn just said, okay, go do what you got to do because I don't have anybody else who can play.
Okay.
But it drives me bananas.
So if they play team ball and suck, that's okay.
Well, what do you mean, what's okay?
Because you're not willing to crack on anybody on the Jazz, but you're willing to crack on LaMelo Ball because they win 14 games. Well, the Jazz, so they pass the ball, but they still suck. But because they pass the ball, that's okay.
I'm not making a comment about the Jazz.
I know.
I'm making a comment about
LaMelo Ball. But you're saying LaMelo Ball is putting up stats on a crappy team and his usage rate and his effective field goal percentage and all those stat nerd stuff. You're saying that he's no good. Well, who's good on the Jazz then? Because what are they doing that LaMelo Ball isn't doing? Seems to me they're doing the same thing.
I kind of understand what you said.
Well, guys putting up stats on lousy teams. Who cares?
I'm not defending the Jazz. I'm not saying that the Jazz are good. I like the way that Will Hardy is coaching, but I don't think you could really take anything from this year. They really intentionally were trying to lose games. That was another thing about Charlotte is they were actually trying to win. And we're still that bad. The Jazz did so many things to lose.
Well, they're trying to win because all their guys are young.
Outside of Jordan Clarkson, the Jazz don't really have somebody that plays like that. I don't like how James Harden plays. I don't like how Luka Doncic plays. I don't like how LaMelo Ball plays. I don't like how Jalen Brunson plays. I don't like ball-dominant guards. That's my whole point. I don't think it wins in the NBA. Give me a ball-dominant guard that plays like that has won. I don't like how Russell Westbrook plays. Kobe didn't play like that.
Oh, come on.
Kobe didn't dribble the ball the whole game. That's not how Kobe Bryant played.
No, because he shot early in the shot clock.
Kobe took a lot of shots. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the guys that dribble the ball for 23 seconds and then either shoot it or pass it hot potato style to somebody else who has to take it. I'm talking about how James Harden plays. I'm not talking about that. Kobe didn't play that way. Michael Jordan didn't play that way. LeBron doesn't play that way. Magic Johnson doesn't play that way. Guys like Steph Marbury played that way. It's like everybody gave
How
James.
about Steph Curry?
Steph Curry doesn't play that way. Picture Steph Curry in your mind. He's not dribbling. He's running off 7 picks as he's running around the court in circles. And Draymond Green is such an intricate part because he's the one who moves it from the middle. I mean, the Warriors never played that way. I don't think playing that way wins.
Okay, there it is. Playing that way don't win. He's down on Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell will never be a winner because he's selfish, according to James A. Scott, who we call Jake Scott.
I don't know if I put it quite that way.
That's what you said. Isn't that what he said, Yak? Come on. All right, well, we're going to do some NFL talk, find out what's going on with Jaxson Dart. Stay with us. That's coming up next. And we'll get back to this LeBron story and trades and where he fits in. And I will publicly, with the advent of a notary public here in studio, sign my allegiance away for the rest of my life to the Los Angeles Lakers. Stay with us, 97.5. But I'll do it publicly with a notary. Yeah, that was in private. I'll do it in public. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now, it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
G-Bang!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK. DJ is out today. Jake Scott sitting in with PK. We're going to the East Coast. We're going to talk to Patricia Traina. She's the publisher of New York Giants on SI and host of the Locked On Giants podcast. And Patricia, you live in Totowa. Is that correct?
No, I actually live in central Jersey, but close enough, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Well, I grew up in Morris County, so you got a brother all this way out here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I bet you weren't expecting that, huh?
No, listen, who's my brother?
Me. I grew up in Morris County.
Okay. Well, next time, we have a holiday, how about an invitation,
Yeah, I think I'm coming your way this summer. Going to spend some time in my home state. Haven't lived there in a long time because I'm old, but I was born and raised there before moving west with my parents. We got out of there, but all of their relatives, my relatives, I guess, still live back there. But the Giants making news, trading up, obviously getting one of our guys, Jaxson Dart. I'm wondering the initial reaction. Did Giants fans realize that his senior year, he played, at the same high school here in the Salt Lake area as Zach Wilson?
I don't think so. I don't think that was mentioned very often, but I do know, the Giants, obviously, they were looking for a quarterback of the future. They obviously have a lot of belief in Jaxson Dart, that they were willing to part with premium draft picks, not just this year, but also next year. So we'll see how it develops. I mean, the last time they traded a small haul for a quarterback, I thought it worked out pretty well. I mean, I don't know what you guys thought, but that guy is knocking on the door of Canton. I mean, I'm not saying that Jaxson Dart is going to be there yet. We don't know, but I'm just saying it worked out pretty well last time the Giants traded up.
So looking at their signings in the offseason, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, I'm guessing they're planning on putting Jaxson on ice for a little while?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to do that. The Giants, their offensive system is players have told me that it's very, very difficult to grasp, that you've got to know a lot of what's going on. You also have to learn protections. You've got to learn, routes, the terminology. There's just so much to learn. And, basically having Jaxson Dart sit and spend weekly film sessions with whether it be Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston, he can get some insight into what they're seeing, why they did, called certain protections and just the little intricacies that we don't think about that goes into the job, but is very important in the job of playing quarterback.
Yeah, that's probably the best situation for him. Sometimes these kids get thrown in so early, and we already brought up Zach Wilson. Obviously, he got thrown in early, and it didn't work, and now he's on his third team. And you mentioned Wilson and Winston there. Those are guys that have been in the NFL for a good while. So unless there's some outrageous things that happen in terms of injury, it doesn't look like maybe even 1 or 2 years, maybe even 3. I mean, one of our guys who played at Utah State up the road in Logan, Jordan Love, he sat for a good while, and then when he got his time, he basically copied what Aaron Rodgers did. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Favre, and then when he got in, he was good. Love watched behind Rodgers, and then when he got in, he did good. In terms of what the immediacy is, you did go Wilson or Winston. Does that mean it's going to be more of an open competition and once we get into the camp?
Well, head coach Brian Dable and general manager Joe Shane have both said that Wilson is penciled in as the starter. Now, can that change? Sure it can. I mean, God forbid there's an injury, or if Wilson just totally bottoms out, there's always that possibility. But the plan as of right now is for Wilson to be the starter, Winston the backup. I mean, look at how the contracts were structured. You kind of knew when Winston, who signed first, signed his deal, right off the bat, you looked at the contract and you said, oh, that's backup money. And then, Wilson, when they brought him in, one of the reasons why they liked him is because he's been to a Super Bowl, I think, 2 times. He's won one, so he's been to the top of the mountain, knows what it takes to get there. And, don't forget, this is a regime that has to start winning games. If they don't start winning and producing, there could be jobs on the line here.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was going to be my next question because, we talk about the development of a quarterback and letting him watch and things that I think are a recipe for success. The thing that can upend that, though, is a new regime, right? Where a new coach or new general manager comes in and they're going to want their own quarterback. So just if you can expand on what you were saying, what kind of footing are those two on?
I think right now the footing's a little more solid. It's not, concrete. I won't go on so far as to say that. But, they put forth a plan. I think if you look at what this regime has done, that first season when they surprised everybody and they went to the playoffs, that covered up a lot of problems on the roster because they figured, we were good enough to go to the playoffs. We won a playoff game. Maybe we're not as bad as we think, but as time went on, they realized that was a mirage. And so their rebuild process kind of got started late. And they're actually, they were behind and trying to clean out the roster that they inherited for that first year and, added pieces to. They just took the rebuild in a totally different direction that didn't make sense if you think about it in retrospect. So now they've got to catch up. So back to your question, I think, if they show progress, if they look better by week 18 than they did week 1, you will see them back, both Shane and Dable. They will finish out the current 5-year contracts they have. If the team has another season like last year, injuries or not, then I think we're going to be talking about a new GM and new head coach this time next year.
Patricia Traina, publisher of New York Giants on SI and host of the Locked On Giants podcast, joining us this morning. Yeah, that's interesting. When you say progress, that's sort of tricky. Normally, folks don't like to attach a number to it. Now they go 3-14. So you talk about when they got there in 22, 9-7. I think they had a tie in there. And they did go to the playoffs, lost to the Eagles, but did win one. And then 6-11, and last year they bottomed out at 3-14. Progress is sort of I guess potentially a subjective word. When you say progress from week 1 through 18, is there anything tangible that you can attach to that so we can get a better idea of what progress actually is in this case?
Yeah. For example, you want to see the offense running quickly, because remember, you've got to, even though Russell Wilson has been around for a while, he's still learning a new system. So you don't want to see, the hiccups that you normally see at the start of the year with a team where they tend to look like they're just coming out of training camp. Another, tangible example, just kind of going back to last year, or actually 2 years ago, excuse me, you want to see your offensive line pick up stunts in week 18. I mean, that wasn't the case necessarily 2 years ago. So that was a lack of progress. And then, of course, you want to see, a reduction of penalties. You'd like to see that. You'd like to just see more cohesiveness in, getting on and off the field. You don't want to see delay of games. All little things like that just kind of show that the machine now is well oiled and is running smoothly.
Good. I appreciate that. I got a better understanding of what to look for. I follow the Giants since I was a kid, so I'll continue to follow them this year for sure. Is their first-round pick, Carter, is he a day one starter?
I think he could be. I think his role day one is, he's going to take some of the snaps from Thibodeau and Burns, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you look at the amount of snaps that Burns in particular played last year, that man was so beat up. I don't know how he did it. I mean, I know a little bit about the injuries he was dealing with, and I'm just absolutely in awe over how he dragged himself onto the field and played at a high level. So I think in the beginning you might see an instance where maybe Carter comes in and spells some of those guys. But that being said, you'll also probably see some new looks for the Giants on defense where they get all three of them on the field. Maybe Carter serves as a spy, maybe on, third and forever type sure passing downs. Carter will move to the inside linebacker spot, which is where he played the first 2 years of his career. So it's all a matter of how creative Shane Bowen is going to be with this guy. But certainly it's a good problem to have. And I do think they're going to get him on the field quite a bit. Look, when we say starter, think about it. Really, it's whoever plays the first snap of the game. That technically is your starter. And then sometimes teams will go into sub packages and they'll play them the rest of the game. So, I just think, in terms of football, the word starter can be a little misleading, especially when you're talking about defense.
Sure, yeah. I told you I grew up in New Jersey, Morris County, and then eventually my parents moved to Phoenix. And so I went to college at Arizona State. So I have an affinity for that fourth round pick, Cam Skattebo, obviously. Now, I know Jersey people, and Skattebo is from California, but he's got some Jersey toughness into him for sure. I don't know how much you were able to watch him during the season because you've got other things to pay attention to. I watched the Devils a lot because I went there, and I'm a fan and all that stuff. What was the reaction when Skattebo got drafted? Because it seems, he is known for his toughness for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were happy with that pick. I mean, I had on my Locked On Giants podcast, I had Richie Bradshaw, who hosts Locked On Sun Devils, and he says, you got to get this nickname for Cam Skattebo trending. And he calls him the people's running back because this is a guy who could do everything. He could catch the ball. He could run the ball. I think he punted a couple of times, played special teams. Just a very outgoing guy and very exciting. He kind of reminds me a little bit of the Giants had a fullback a few years back, Henry Hynoski, who was kind of not a local guy, but he took to the New Jersey area pretty quickly, and he became very much a fan favorite. So Skattebo early on reminds me a little bit of that, with that of Hynoski, with that that exuberance and that mystique, if you will, and hopefully he comes in here, and I think he's going to be the new Thunder to Tyrone Tracy's Lightning, and because this Giant team really hasn't had a Thunder Lightning combination in quite some time, at least not one that's been successful, and I think Cam Skattebo can bring him back.
I like to call him on all his runs, I call him Skattabooyah because, man, and my partner who's off today, he had what I thought was one of the best descriptions of watching Skattebo play. And obviously we've got the colleges with BYU and Utah being in the Big 12, and ASU went in there last year. So we've, during the football season, we're mostly local, and we focus heavily on those schools and then in the conference. And my partner said, when Skattebo runs and I watch him play, I find myself laughing a lot. And I thought that was a great description because he's doing these things that you just can't believe that he's doing. You think he's going to be down at the line, the defensive line's going to get him, then you think the linebackers are going to get him. The next thing you know, he's ripping off a 40-yard run, and you find yourself giggling at the way he plays because he just has a never-say-die attitude. And if he can equate that in the NFL, and I think the Giants got themselves a nice pick. Obviously, I'm biased here.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's got the tools. Now the rest is up to him. He's got to come in here. He's going to have to learn. One of the toughest adjustments a running back has to make when they come from college is pass pro.
Yeah.
They're not getting on the field unless they can be trusted to do pass pro. It's starting over for all these rookies. They were the big men on campus a year ago because most of them were seniors or in their fifth or sixth years, whatever, the case was. And now they're coming in, they're rookies. They've got to find where the cafeteria is, where the men's room is, where the locker room is, all that stuff, let alone learn the playbook, learn the area, learn how, the team runs its daily business. So it's a lot to put on a rookie, but, if you come in and you're open-minded and you don't have this high opinion of yourself that, I should be starting ahead of this guy who's been here 10 years, I think, you'll fit in fine and it'll come to you naturally.
Well, since you're in Central Jersey, you can kind of go either way with this. Are you more tailored ham or pork roll?
Neither. I don't care for either, but my husband loves pork roll.
All right, Patricia. Well, we appreciate.
I'll have bacon with my breakfast, but pork roll. I can never get into to pork roll.
Not even on a roll with cheese?
No, I don't care for it, but my husband loves it. Matter of fact, this morning we had breakfast sandwiches. He had his usual fried egg, pork roll, and ketchup and American cheese on wheat toast. And me, I had a scrambled egg with American cheese on a plain bagel. So
okay, all right. You got to be different. I'll go along with that. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
No problem, guys.
Okay. That's Patricia Traina. She's the publisher for the New York Giants on SI and host of the Locked On Giants podcast, man. When we come back, Jake Scott's sitting in. We'll get your thought on Jaxson Dart and who is he? Is he the next Trent Dilfer, Super Bowl winning quarterback?
Obviously better than Marino.
Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
There's problem solvers. I'm not one of them. I'm a problem creator.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, right. I call it challenging groupthink, but really I'm an instigator.
See, I'm more of a problem pointer-outer.
Doing it wrong.
Exactly. Which I'd probably rather be than a problem creator.
Sure, it's better.
But easier than problem solving.
Neither help.
No, nothing.
Neither fix anything.
No. I mean, my living is to pop on the microphone and say, hey, that team really stunk out there. Well, how did they make it better? I don't know.
Not my problem.
Don't you get paid to figure that out? Boy, that team stinks. Why do they stink? Well, I could give you a number of different reasons.
How do you fix it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's your problem.
Not up to me.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Well, I love this job.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back in. DJ and PK, Jake Scott sitting in for the Snake Dog. Think Jaxson Dart is going to flourish in the NFL?
I mean, for his sake, I hope so.
I do too.
I'm a little. Was it Patricia, our guest? I asked Patricia what I'm concerned about for him is that the Giants have this plan. I like it. You've got veterans. You're going to bring them along. Dayball has a good rep when it comes to offense and quarterbacks and all those things. But I don't think Dayball is going to be the coach next year after next.
So in the 26 season.
Yeah, because the Giants are going to stink. They're going to stink next year, and they're going to can that guy. And then they're going to hire a new GM, and they're going to hire a new coach. And then that regime is going to come in and say, I want a guy. I didn't pick Jaxson Dart. I'm not going to risk my job on a quarterback. We've seen it a million times, right? That I didn't select, and then Jackson's going to be in the wind, and that's tough because, I mean, ask Zach Wilson, then all of a sudden you're playing your way onto rosters with teams that didn't invest anything in you. The best part about going in the first round as a quarterback is, in theory, you get time to get better because they're not going to cut a first-round quarterback overnight where they will with a fifth-round quarterback, and I'm not specifically referencing Shedeur.
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah, you had to go fifth round. I knew you were a Shedeur hater.
I'm not a Shedeur hater. I liked our interview with him at Pac-12 Media Day. I didn't get a chance to talk to him at Big 12 Media Day. Remember, he corrected me on how to say his name right out of the gate, which I actually appreciate.
What? No, I don't.
Because I called him Shador, and he's like, no, it's pronounced Shador.
Oh.
And now every time I hear somebody call him Shador, it totally jumps out to me. I'm super excited.
So you went with the spelling with an EU, which would be Shador rather than Shador.
He said, no, it's Shador. And so I actually appreciated that. And I thought he interacted with us really well.
I did too.
I'm not a hater. I don't think, well, we talk about you're good enough to play that way. I don't think he was good enough to act the way that he did. He acted like he was the consensus number one pick and, could just do whatever he wanted. And he was probably a second, third round guy, and then his behavior dropped him to the fifth. Because I said this with Ben, I bet you money Jalen Royals winning every NFL interview he had with the team, probably looking sharp, putting his best foot forward, uber prepared.
Yeah, I understand.
And Shador apparently speaking of the Giants, went into a meeting with the Giants completely unprepared. Dayball called him out for it, and Shador pushed back against being called out, and it was a dreadful meeting by all reports. Like, if you're Deion Sanders and everybody thinks you're a generational guy and, all the lore of where he just got out of the limo, ran the 40 at the combine, got into the limo and left, like, you can act that way if you're Deion. I don't think Shador is...
But he was told that.
Which is bad advice, yeah. Definitely bad advice. I don't know who was in his ear telling him that. And
everybody.
To build the room, this custom
he gets his
draft
jersey
room,
retired before he even leaves campus.
which is crazy. Which is silly. Yeah, he's got people in his ear who are not giving him the best direction.
Yeah.
If he would have, I bet you money, if he would have really took it seriously, put his best foot forward, did the interviews, didn't he go into one of his interviews saying like I build the culture is my culture, like your culture is going to evolve to fit me.
I didn't hear that one.
Something like I should have that in front of me
Neuheisel
before I
said
mention
that
it.
he FaceTimed somebody during an interview.
During an interview,
Wait, I got to take this call. No, you don't.
Teams, I think you'd agree with this. Teams don't want the circus unless it's worth it.
I don't think they want it at all. But they'll tolerate the better.
For the upside.
Kevin McHale used to say, axe murderer by day, NBA superstar by night. That was his
That's funny.
Joking line.
Yeah.
Did you see there was a thing I saw yesterday? This old guy, he's sitting on the couch and his family's right there. And he gets a phone call. Hello. Yeah, I'm ready for it. I've been waiting my whole life for it. Yeah. Oh, no, I'll be there. Yeah. You can count on me. This will work. And he's going through all this spiel, right? Like it's a GM or a coach on the line. And he hangs up. His family looks at him and he says, I'm going to assisted living. And I didn't know what he was going to. You knew it was obvious. It's a parody, right? And I'm waiting. Where's this going? What's the punchline? And when he drops that and he puts his arms up and then the family starts jumping up. Oh, brother. I thought that was classic. All right, coming up next, we'll get back to my Lakers. We'll get back to LeBron. What should the Jazz do? What are your emotions, people? The Lakers are done, but Rudy Gobert is the one who goes a long way towards eliminating him. Our guy playing for Minnesota. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back into the fourth and final hour of the DJ and PK show. The Snig Dog off today. Jake Scott sitting in. Can we finally put to rest that LeBron is the GOAT?
No. You think LeBron is the best basketball player of all time?
No.
Oh, on the other side, can we stop listening to his...
Yeah, I didn't think that this seals it. No, I think this seals it that he's not.
Oh, yeah. Well, I never considered him.
How can you be the GOAT when you're the fourth best player for the franchise?
I don't know if... Well, I'm not going to give LeBron any credit. Okay.
I'll go.
Yeah, I don't think you could.
My top 5 Lakers of all time.
Oh, of course, this is a topic.
Number 5, LeBron James. No, I'll go 4. Or where did I put Wilt? I'll put Wilt 5. Because Wilt with the Lakers wasn't Wilt when he was just averaging 50 and 25.
With the 76ers and the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, when he's just putting up numbers that will never be matched ever for the rest of NBA history, right? I once interviewed Wilt and made him mad. So I'll go Wilt 5. LeBron 4. Jerry West 3. Number 2, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And number 1, James Magic Johnson.
You almost said James Worthy. Well, what do you think, Laker fans? Let's open up the phone lines. React. 801-575-ZONE. Let's take some calls. Where did PK get it right? Where did he get it wrong?
But how about LeBron? There's a lot of people who think LeBron is the best player of all time. I think he's in the discussion, but I don't think he is.
They're all being paid by LeBron, the people that say that.
You think so?
Yes, I do. The media people that say that are directly connected to LeBron.
So they're on LeBron's payroll.
He's trying to talk that into existence, which is something that Clutch has done forever for their clients, where they try to talk these things into existence, and sometimes it works. But I don't think it's going to work in this case. LeBron just doesn't have the resume, and I don't know. He's not as dominant.
Yeah, you look at his time with the Lakers in 2019, they missed the playoffs. In 2020, he won the championship. But you believe that that's bogus.
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse title. Yeah, whatever. We're surprised that LeBron and Anthony Davis were good in a playoff run where they had 3 months off leading into it. You know, Anthony Davis, who could never stay healthy, he gets 3 months off, and then they play in the playoffs, and you're surprised that the Lakers succeed. Old man LeBron gets a bunch of time off, and then goes into the playoffs. And in a circumstance in the bubble, where being disciplined and mature was going to benefit you. You saw these teams like the Bucks almost didn't make it through the bubble. Remember when they almost left in protest? The Clippers were falling apart.
Well, they had to leave in protest. They had to make a stand. Look at all the change that has come from that protest. It's unbelievable. Where would the world be if they would have played ball that night? I'm going to put a sign in my yard. That'll solve the world's problems.
I will give LeBron credit that he has a tremendous amount of will, and that benefited him in the bubble. But you watch those games in the bubble, nobody played any defense. They all went to the bar together after it was over, so they didn't want to play hard. They didn't want to show guys
seem to be
up.
inflated.
That was ridiculous.
Wasn't William Mitchell and Jamal Murray getting 50 every game?
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm glad that they did the bubble, given where the world was at that point.
100%.
I give them credit for doing it, and so it's tough to criticize it too much, but it wasn't real. I don't give the Lakers credit for winning that title. No. And I think the Lakers during LeBron's tenure, for the most part, have sucked.
Yeah, they've had either missed the playoffs twice and had 3 first-round exits, with the most recent in 25 being the last one, obviously.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think the LeBron's...
So you go MJ all the way?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you can make some arguments. I do think it's difficult to compare eras, and we want to oversimplify everything by identifying one GOAT. I think it's hard.
Well, and you don't have a feel of GOATs.
I mean, I think that Kareem was way better than Buck, for example.
Oh, you mean the guy who didn't win the year before, and then when Magic came and had the greatest individual game of all time, and they won it in 6? That's the one you're bringing up? Yeah, good call by you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Buck would be good in today's era, but he's still one of the legends.
That might be, of all the dumb takes you've had, that might be the dumbest take of all time. I can't think of anything stupider that you've ever said.
Well, if he could shoot, he would be better.
If he could shoot.
He can't shoot. So, yeah, no. Absolutely. I put the LeBron MJ GOAT debate to bed years ago. That's not even, I don't even think it's close, honestly.
So you said that it's ridiculous to compare eras.
I didn't say ridiculous. I said it was hard.
Okay, it was hard. So you assume the Magic Johnson who grew up in that era versus the Magic Johnson who grew up in this era would be the exact same player.
See, this is what you always say. You always invent something like, oh, he would obviously be a good shooter if he grew up today. That's not a given. I can see what kind of shooter.
I just asked you a question. I didn't.
I'm telling you, I don't know.
With those same players, but you told me he's not a good shooter.
He's not.
He's not shooting now. I believe stars of whatever era would be stars in today's era.
Because they would automatically be good at a skill that wasn't required back then?
They would grow up with a different mindset. Like somebody like Bill Russell, he was slight, and he wasn't that big compared to the guys today. Okay. But he would be bigger if he played today.
So if Mark...
He would be in training that would allow his body to be bigger. It wasn't required then. If you have a high level of skill, you could develop whatever skill. Like Stockton didn't shoot that many threes. I believe if he played today, he would be a top 5 3-point shooter every year.
Yeah, but John Stockton was a good shooter. So by that logic...
I don't know if he's a good 3-point shooter.
By that logic, if Sammy Sosa would have grown up trying to be a pitcher instead of a hitter, he would have been just as good at pitching.
No, I don't understand that one.
Because it's the skill. Shooting is...
I have no idea what Sosa's skill was as a pitcher.
My point is that shooting is not an automatic skill.
Nothing is an automatic skill. You have to work at it. I don't care what it is.
Right.
Shot blocking, passing.
But just because you put the effort into it doesn't mean you naturally have the skill to begin with.
I believe great players would be great and they would adapt. Yes.
That's my point about the pitching. I don't think if Sammy Sosa, who was a great baseball player and a great hitter, if he would have grown up just pitching, he would not automatically be a good pitcher because that's a different skill set. It's a different gift. It's a different talent.
Yeah,
so it's not automatic that if you worked at it, you would be great.
I would say fielding. I wouldn't go pitching because pitching, that's just so dramatically different.
Well, shooting is dramatically different than passing and dramatically different than dribbling and dramatically different than all of that. Shooting is its independent skill. That's why they're NBA.
Shooting does not eliminate scoring. Your whole focus is on shooting. I would be more focused on scoring.
The problem is,
and most importantly, I would be focused on winning.
The problem is nowadays, if you can't shoot, they don't have to guard you. And they can guard you different. They can gap and leave and all this stuff that didn't used to happen back in the day.
Yeah. The only thing I could think of was you were just too young.
I watched Magic Johnson play. I'm not that young. If Giannis would be, we could, the GOAT discussion, all right? Giannis would be the answer if he could shoot. But the problem with Giannis is
Allen Iverson is the answer.
Oh, nice. The problem with Giannis is you can beat him by what team was it that coined the build the wall phrase, where you gap Giannis and you basically guard him with 3 players that are just building a wall in the paint because he can't shoot it. So you can play defense differently. Like Giannis would be unstoppable if he shot at 33% from 3.
But why bother? If that's the thing that I don't understand in today's game. Yeah, why bother if you're awesome and dominant at something else? Why in the crap would you bother to take a 3? Because that's the way the game. Somebody decided we all have to play that way. Jimmer in college and Steph Curry in the NBA. No, play to your skills.
Whatever. We're talking about the greatest of all time. We're not talking about a skilled role player or something like that. We're talking about the best NBA basketball player of all time. We're talking about how do you be great. If Giannis could shoot, he would be the best player in the league right now, hands down. Not even close.
But yet every team would take him in a heartbeat, and he's an all-star.
Because he's great.
Yeah.
All NBA, all NBA first team.
There's no perfect player. So it's just like when Jaxson Dart got drafted, Mel Kiper starts talking about the negative, talking about why Shador wasn't drafted. You are drafted on what you can do, not what you can't do. Rudy Gobert was not a first-round pick because he was not a prolific offensive player. He was a first-round pick because Dennis Lindsey had the foresight, and I realized it was a trade, that they saw what he could be at the defensive level. And he's a premier defensive player. And he hasn't won it all because he's not individually good enough to say, boys, get on my back. But there's no doubt in my mind that he can be a significant contributor on a team that does win it all.
We're not talking, contributor, sure. Why not? We're not talking about
I
contributor.
want to talk about things that they do well, not things that they don't do well. Because if you don't do them well, all right, you don't do them. If you're not a good three-point shooter, don't take three-point shots. The Jazz, and it was fine under the circumstance because the games were meaningless, but Walker Kessler is no more of a three-point shooter than Derek Favors was.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with that.
But go ahead and try it out this year because it didn't matter.
Oh, because they were trying to lose.
Yeah, and I don't have any problem with it this year. But if they get, and when they get to a winning situation, if Kessler is on the team, assuming he is, don't have him shoot three-pointers. What you can't do, you can't do.
No, if we're going to talk specifically about Kessler, I've said this forever. Don't talk to me about him shooting threes until he can make free throws. Because if he can't make free throws, then he can't play at the end of games. So until he's over 70% from the line, I don't want to hear anything about him shooting threes. And it was a strategy to intentionally lose when they had him shoot threes, which is actually a shame because it ruined his league-leading field goal percentage.
Oh, whoop-de-doo.
I know, I agree, whoop-de-doo, but he was leading the league in field goal.
No, it's fine. Have him try it out.
Oh, they didn't have him try anything. Are you kidding? They're like, hey, we're too close in these games. We've got to figure out a way to lose. You get out there and start cranking threes.
So you think that Will Hardy was deliberately trying to lose?
I do.
Ooh. I'm not so sure about that.
Oh, I think he deliberately tried to lose a bunch of games. I don't think he liked it.
I think he was told what to do.
Sure.
I don't think he deliberately did it. He was ordered to do what they did.
Oh, tomato, whatever. Okay. Yeah, we get it.
Did you have... Now, you're a lifelong Jazz fan.
I am.
You were born and raised here. And so, and that's fine. I understand that. Did you have any pinged emotions when you see the Lakers lose? And you hate the Lakers. I understand that. That's why you hate Magic. I get that. I would be, if I were a Jazz fan, I'd be extremely jealous of them also. So I have no problem with that. Did you have any mixed emotion? The Lakers lose, so that makes your day. But it's Gobert leading the charge, and he was one of ours, man.
I don't have
found and developed by us.
I don't have any emotion about any of this. I don't care.
That's not true. You grew up here.
So?
Everyone who grew up here as a sports fan is a Jazz fan.
Everybody who grew up here doesn't have to do this job, and I don't think being emotionally connected allows me to do this job. But answering
you
your
can
question,
do the job without. You can see that's always a misnomer.
Not in my opinion.
You can be a fan over here, but when you're in your job, you're not a fan. That's two different things. Yeah, I never accused you of your fandom affecting your work. Not at all. Two different things. You can separate the two, I believe. And plus, it's in our business as sports radio, and the way the business as a whole has morphed, everybody's a fan.
Yeah, I guess I don't like how the business has morphed that way.
It's totally changed from the way we weren't even allowed. When I grew up coming in the business, you couldn't put a campaign sign on your bumper sticker or in your yard. That was completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
Now we got all these yahoos who are the bastion of journalism, which is viewed as the print people. They're running their mouths on social media because they don't like this guy over here.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
We couldn't have done that at all. I never even voted because I had to be neutral.
Yeah, I don't like where things have gone, and I don't trust fan media members. I don't pay that a lot of attention, honestly. And I tell people this all the time because people this year would come up to me and they talk to me like I was sick and dying or something. Like they'd be like, "Oh, are you okay?"
Because the team's losing.
Because the team's losing. It's like, I don't care. And I tell people this. Listen, you could grow up. This is my perspective. Other media members don't have it.
Sure.
But you could grow up loving Hostess cupcakes. Twinkies, whatever. Like my passion growing up, I just loved Hostess cupcakes. If you go to work at Hostess,
the little white
at the top.
Frosting on the top.
But if you go to work at Hostess and your job is cupcakes 24/7, and that's what you do for a living, it changes your relationship, or at least it has with me, with the cupcake. It's not. You're not a fan of it. You're not a fan of it anymore. People.
I've never had a relationship with a cupcake.
But people.
What are we doing here? We're talking about like Nick Saban and his oatmeal cream pies. What are we?
No,
it changes your relationship with the cupcake.
What?
When you cover sports for a living, I'm not going to speak for you guys, but when I cover the Jazz for a living, people say, "Oh, you get to go to all the Jazz games." I tell people all the time, "No, I have to go to all the Jazz games."
There is a dynamic shift there. I will give you that.
Okay, I agree with that to an extent, but I will, and I don't have any problem with what you're saying. I appreciate it and I get it. And I was just talking to a manager yesterday about this very thing in this building, and now I have no emotion whether the Utes win, whether the Cougars win, or they lose, but it doesn't really matter to me in the least. But at the same time, I would much rather, in my job, have the Jazz in the second round. I would much rather, in 11 days, that they draft number 1 versus anything else. Even number 2, which I think they can get a high-quality player at number 2. I want to see them win all these teams because it's better for business.
Oh, I agree with that. So but let me ask you this:
How do you justify that?
When the Jazz get the 5th pick, what will your reaction be?
I'll be disappointed.
Are you gonna shed tears?
No.
Are you gonna be angry? Are you
no, that's what I'm saying.
You're going to go about your day. That's my point.
But what I'm getting at is that I can separate fandom from work. Fandom, I don't give a crap. Doesn't matter in the least to me. I'm going to hold them accountable if they get the 5th pick or the 2nd pick, whatever pick, to get a quality player. That's what Justin Zanuck said. Doesn't matter where they draft. Our job is to get a quality player. That's their job. That's what they're paid to do. And so I demand that they do it. And if they do it, I'll praise them. If they draft a stiff, I'll rip them. Simple. They decide what I say, not me. As a fan, I don't care. As a talk show host, I really want to come in 2 Tuesdays from now and have them with the number 1 pick. Yeah. Because the community, there's a couple of reasons. The community from the job perspective will be lit. Plus, I've lived here, and you always get on me. Oh, you keep claiming you're not a Utahan. All right, I want to be a Utahan. Well, most of the people that I live around are Jazz fans. And I want my friends or my neighbors to be happy. And to have them, if they choose to be sports fans, not all of them are. Some of them don't give a crap, some do. I want them to be able to watch their team and win. I think that's fun. It doesn't matter to me personally, but I want to see this team. I'd much rather have them be playing in the playoffs right now, but they're not. So the next best thing is to get the number 1 pick. Do I care personally? No. So I think it can be separated.
I don't care personally either.
But you don't care that they're not playing? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't.
The business. I want my business to succeed.
Right.
And I stand a better chance to have the business succeed if the teams do well. The best thing about college football this year was the Cougs going 11-2 because Utah was disappointing and Utah State was disappointing. And the best thing about college basketball this year was Calhoun getting all those guys and having a nice run, and Kevin Young doing his thing because they weren't able to do anything at Utah. And I want Alex Jensen, who I covered him. Well, I'm on tomorrow, and I want him to succeed. I actually like him. I've known him for 30 years.
I understand what you're saying. That's fine. I heard you. And yeah, I don't disagree. But guess what?
I think they can be separate.
But guess what? If all 3 football teams sucked last year.
That's bad for business, man.
Yeah, but you know what you would have done? You would have shown up and done a great show. Because that's what you've been doing for 20 years, regardless of what else is going on out there.
But and that's the charge. You're right.
Yes, that's your job.
Justin Zanuck and Ainge, their charge is to get a good player. Our charge is, irregardless of how these teams do, our charge is to put the best show on that we can.
Back to my
we
season
did the whole
this
thing
year.
during COVID with no sports for months at a time.
And we did it.
Yeah.
But back to my thing with people coming up to me asking me about the Jazz
I
pre-after
understand
post.
that.
And
you don't take it personal.
They go, how do you do these shows? And I say, if you've got to find something interesting about the game, That's my job. I've got to find the interesting parts about the game, and that's what you talk about. People are like, well, you can't kill the team. It's like, we can talk about what the team didn't do right. We have to talk about what's interesting about the game. And if I can't do that, I've got to find a different job. And
right.
so
but it's easier to do when they win.
But sure, I guess.
It is.
I don't know.
Oh, it is. It is. Our numbers are better when people win.
I'm not talking about numbers. That's true.
But that matters.
People want to. Yes, I'm not disagreeing with your good for business take. I'm not. I'm talking about me personally and my job and whether I care if they win or they lose. I don't. If they lose, I've still got to find something interesting to talk about.
Okay, but how about if your job depended on it?
If my job depended on it, I might be a little more invested.
I would be 1,000 times more invested if my job depended on it.
But it doesn't.
Man, I'm not sure about that.
I've been doing this job through a lot of crappy Jazz seasons, and it's been fine.
And we're lucky.
And we are way lucky. I'm not disagreeing with that.
But
back to your,
I was fired from radio once. Only it didn't happen.
I remember.
Yes.
I know.
And there wouldn't be all this stuff later.
Yeah, and I was the program director of a station that we had to whack the whole staff except for 3 people. This is a wild business. I get it. But it doesn't, I don't think our future depends on wins and losses, and that's not how I contort myself. And it's not how you do either. Again.
Understood.
Again, the teams could suck and be terrible and lose, and you know what? DJ and PK are still rocking my radio airwaves every morning, doing a great show.
Yeah, but it's just easier. It's more fun. I want to have fun. The older you get, the more emphasis on fun you want to have. And it's more fun when they win.
But listen.
And fortunately, at the hockey, too, they were winning.
Yeah.
I mean, they
absolutely.
made progress. They made significant progress. They didn't get in the postseason. I get that. But they made significant progress, and it was fun to watch. Yep. I want them to have fun, the players, the management. I want us to have fun, and I want the fans to have fun because there's enough crap in the world that I don't want crap invading my sports.
Yeah, great.
I want that area to be fun. And it was fun for me to watch Rudy Gobert go off last night.
Let's talk about that next, because that was your initial question. We got distracted. We can talk about that.
Okay, stay with us. We will hit that because that's the dominant topic of the day and get you caught up on that dominant topic right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Utah Jazz select.
Do you believe in karma? Well, we here at the KSL Sports Zone absolutely believe in creating good vibes for the Utah Jazz in their hopes of securing the #1 pick in the NBA Draft Lottery. Go to KSLSports.com to donate $2 to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital.
Wait, why $2? And isn't that the jersey number of...
Bob, it's just a random number, okay? Just stick to the copy.
It's a real 2-for-1. Your donation will help Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital and help the Utah Jazz capture the Good Karma flag in their hopes of recouping winning basketball in Utah.
Fingers crossed, guys.
Donate your $2 right now at KSLSports.com.
Here comes Green, gets by Moody, out to Van Vliet, lobs it inside to him, and Thompson will jam it down for 2. 2 minutes remaining, and the Rockets up 18 as Amen Thompson has 25.
Dante wing right. He'll move to his left. He'll fire in a 3. It's offline. Rudy got the rebound and slammed it home. A new postseason career high, 27 points, and a new postseason career high, 21 rebounds for the big man.
How many more years will we see you play?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Something I'll sit down with my family, my wife, and my support group and kind of just talk through it and see what happens. And then just have a conversation with myself on how long I want to continue to play.
That is LeBron James, obviously talking about potential retirement, and obviously the answer would be he does not know. Let's figure it out here in the coming weeks and have a decision and go from there. Your 9 o'clock Slacker Radio headlines are brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. All right, big story of the day. The Lakers are eliminated. I am heartbroken, according to Jake Scott. And Rudy Gobert dominates 27 points and 24 boards. It was something about, and Rudy's, it's like I'm just watching on television, man. But I could see it in his eyes. I could see it in his energy. He knew that the Lakers don't have a center. They literally didn't even play one. Jared Vanderbilt for a little bit. But other than that, their starting center, Hayes, literally did not play. So it felt like Rudy must have thought, man, I can have a huge game. And I got to admit, Jake Scott sitting in for DJ, that I was happy for Rudy.
Oh, sure.
To have him have success.
Yeah, Rudy takes a lot of
he takes
incoming.
a lot of crap for the money he makes.
Yeah,
guys like Shaq just pile on him.
And he's a great player.
He's limited offensively.
Well, yeah, okay. This is what I took from last night. You know, spending years watching Rudy Gobert every single night, it baffled me why he wouldn't just run over smaller players and dunk it. Why teams could get away with putting a 6'6" guy on Rudy and somehow he'd be trying to do a Euro step layup or something just ridiculous. And it would teams like they lost to the Rockets multiple times in the playoffs, to the Clippers, where teams would play these small lineups. And basically, you know, everybody criticized Rudy saying you can play him off the floor in the playoffs and stuff like that. It's because of that. Because if you can guard him with a 6'6" player and play 5 out and he doesn't punish you on the other side, well, then you can just play that way the whole game. If Rudy's just running over the 6'6" guy and dunking every time down the floor, getting offensive rebounds and dunking like we hear there, you can't play 5 out anymore. I never got that, how the Clippers could get away with playing Terrence Mann on Rudy. Like, you shouldn't be able to do that.
No, it's on the coach then.
I don't love how Rudy was developed. I thought they messed around a lot with stuff that wasn't useful, and he really just needed to be strong and commanding and learn how to play like a big in the NBA. Go put on Shaq film and watch him run over guys over and over and over again. How many Euro steps was Shaq throwing out there? None.
Well, he didn't have the body of Shaq.
It was just crazy. If you could get anyone, a guard, a forward, anyone between Rudy and the basket, his offense was finito.
Finito?
Yeah, he couldn't finish. If anybody was between him and the basket, I just never understood that. And last night he was so aggressive. The Lakers shouldn't be able to get away with not having a center against the Timberwolves. That shouldn't be a thing.
Well, they didn't.
And they didn't. That's what I'm saying. Rudy really played that way, and I found it, as somebody who's followed all of Rudy's career, really refreshing. Play tough. Go out there. Don't let him get away with guarding you with Vanderbilt. Dunk in their face.
He did.
Absolutely. And I hope he takes that going forward, because we can talk about how limited he is offensively, because he's never going to be a three-point shooter. He's never going to be a shooter, period. But what he could be is run you over and dunk in your face guy until you put a big player on him. I never got that. And last night he was dominant.
You think Jazz fans were torn?
No, I think Jazz fans love Rudy.
No, I know, but he's not here.
I think Jazz fans honestly want to see Rudy and Donovan succeed. They had a lot of career left.
Not so sure about Mitchell.
Why?
Because he wanted out. Rudy didn't want out. He rejected us.
Yeah, well, get in line. Who hasn't rejected the Jazz? That's
Rudy.
What happens?
Larry Markkinen loves the outdoors.
Yeah.
You told me that.
You get what I'm saying.
Stockton didn't reject us.
I don't know. Maybe people are cheering
Antoine Carr didn't reject us.
Maybe people are cheering against Donovan.
I think some are.
I don't get the vibe. It's not like the Gordon Hayward level.
It's virtually the same.
I don't think so. I think there was a lot more hate for Gordon, especially the way he left. And I'm not talking about the decision thing. I'm talking about how he lied to the Jazz for over a year that he was considering staying, even though he had already basically agreed to go to Boston.
Okay,
and then leaves as a free agent and refuses to even do a sign and trade. I mean, that was
the NBA wife who knows his husband, whose husband's cheating. She doesn't know.
Wait, what?
The NBA wife whose husband's cheating doesn't know he's cheating. He lied to the Jazz. In order for you to lie to me, I got to believe it. They believed that they had a shot to... we got in trouble for talking about it.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
He wasn't ever going to stay.
And they should have known that. I get what you're
But they didn't want to acknowledge it.
They didn't. But he didn't
So who's that? Whose fault is that? It's certainly
both.
Yeah, definitely.
But he was bitter. He didn't get a contract extension that he wanted, and he had to be a restricted free agent.
I understand.
And from that day forward, he was plotting how he could screw the Jazz. And
but he played by the rules.
He did. But I'm saying that generated way more hate than Donovan. I think.
Yeah, because Donovan was more sophisticated. He wasn't the country boy from Indiana.
No, they got. I'm more saying they got stuff back for him. And actually, if Donovan did ask out, which we've never officially been told that, or have
You
we?
may not have been officially told it.
No, I believe it. I'm just saying, has anybody
He
ever
told
on
him
the
he
record?
wasn't going to resign.
Right.
No, they're not going to say that on the record.
But
that's bad business.
But that's Donovan doing him a favor.
Oh, Donovan doing him a favor.
It is.
Thank you, Donovan.
Oh, it's way worse to lose somebody in free agency and get no compensation.
But that's on the Jazz. They could have traded Hayward. That's not on Hayward. Darren Williams. They traded him ahead of time. Trade Hayward ahead of time, and then you wouldn't have been left with nothing.
You can justify your specific hate or not or lack thereof of players. I'm telling you,
I don't have any hate towards any of them.
I'm telling you why Jazz fans don't like Gordon Hayward or didn't like the way that played out.
Well, they should not like the management then. They allowed him to play out his contract. They could have traded him.
Tell them. We're talking
Who's
about
them?
Fans.
Fans. Direct your hate towards Jazz management because they allowed him to play out his contract, naively thinking that he was going to stay. There. I've covered it. Right. I just told Jazz fans.
Right. We were talking about why fans dislike Gordon more than Donovan, which I do believe that to be true.
That's interesting. I'll have to get the Sniggy to put up one of his polls.
Who Jazz fans dislike more?
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell or Gordon Hayward?
Yeah.
I bet you Gordon would win.
I don't
by
know.
a ways.
Gordon never publicly ripped the community. Mitchell basically called us racist.
Well, called certain legislators racist, I suppose, but yeah.
It was draining or exhausting to live. Couldn't have been just one state, dude. I have no idea. I don't even know who's who. I don't pay attention to local politics.
I have no idea
whatsoever.
who he was talking about either.
Right. It couldn't have been just one guy.
But that's my point.
That's not it. You got to have more than one.
How many people
are you that soft that one guy has an opinion and you have to leave the community? Wow. I don't believe that's true anyway.
But do you think fans really care about that?
Yes. Yes. I think the people of the Salt Lake City area in Utah, I think they care very much how they are perceived because this is their home. They grew up here. This place means everything to them. They care how they're perceived. My sisters and I, when that dumb show Jersey Shore came out and they depicted the Italian culture down at the shore, that was my culture. I did that. My sisters who are older than me did it longer. We were offended by that show. That show was outrageous. That's not who we are as a people. Yes, I think that the people around here care very much how they're perceived because so many of them try to bend over backwards to be as nice as they possibly can. And then they get slapped in the face? Yeah, I think they care.
But fans didn't part ways with Carlos Boozer. He's not a popular former player around here, and he won't shut up about how much he loves Utah.
Now?
No.
With maturity.
No, during his career. Let's see, his first year with the Bulls, he did an interview in Miami, of all places, and they started clowning Utah, and he told them to stop. He said,
well, we played it.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah,
he said, stop. No, it's a great place. It wasn't just
He said, no, it's not that bad. But
it wasn't just with maturity. He did it at the time.
You're right, he did.
And fans still don't like him.
Although he was gone. He wasn't here.
He said it when he was here.
And he should have. So that's why I don't think Boozer is disliked.
Oh,
he comes back you see him here all the time.
I know, but at the time when he left, he was very unpopular.
I think anybody who leaves is unpopular.
He was unpopular. What do you want from me?
Unless they're sent away.
And unlike Gordon Hayward, he got him a trade exception. He agreed to do a sign-in trade. So Boozer does all these things that are actually pro-Utah and pro-Salt Lake, and he was still unpopular on the way out the door. So I don't know how much Donovan criticizing a legislator actually matters in the mind of fans.
I think it's more than that. I think he tried to... His perception is blanketing the entire area.
Is this America? Then he can voice his opinion on whatever he wants. I don't care. I don't think most people care.
Ooh, ma.
Sounds like somebody's been listening to a few ads.
What is that from? I don't even know where that's from.
It's UMA, the cloud phone system.
Oh, is that what it is?
Advertising works, people.
It does. It gets in your head.
It does.
It just came to me.
But anyway, good for Rudy for learning how to run over guys and dunk in their face, because it's been lacking for a long time.
I'm happy for Rudy, but for my fellow Jazz fans, I can see where it's a little bittersweet, because he was a guy who wanted to be here, went and received his Defensive Player of the Year awards, and would say, I want to win it all here with Utah.
Yeah, the smart thing to do was move on from him, though. I think most people get that.
I suppose. I'm not 100% sold on that one, because what did they get back?
For Rudy?
Yeah.
Well, Walker Kessler for one.
That's good.
And a bunch of picks.
A bunch of picks, and where are those picks going to be?
Well, I think they're going to end up flipping most of those picks, or at least they should.
Okay, we'll see.
Because there's no way, and they've made me look dumb the last 2 years, because I'm like, oh, there's no way they can make all these picks.
And yet they have.
Yeah, yet they have. But they're not going to.
Probably their best option, though.
They're going to use it as currency at some point,
okay.
I got to imagine.
Yeah, then we can evaluate that at that point. They did get Kessler, but I don't know that I trade Gobert for Kessler one up.
No, at least not right now.
Yeah, and that's probably, you're right. That's probably not fair to be judging a fully matured as a player Gobert versus a youngster still on his way up.
Kessler could be an all-star. He could get there.
That's another debatable question. You've proposed some debatable questions to give us some show topics. Thank you for coming in. And we'll wrap up the show, get you ready for Jake Scott's own show coming up next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere. No, I got to listen to this song now. Whatever makes you a rock star, Jake. Hank, did you lock it in the bank? Yeah. Come on, you don't like this tune?
I don't know. It's all right.
Whatever makes you feel like a rock star. Yeah. You can kick it back, chill. You can rock hard. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Yak. Oh, and he played the clean version.
Well, radio station, FCC, and certain other parameters.
Who is this? Travis Tritt?
Yes, Travis Tritt.
This is Kenny Chesney singing right now, and then you will soon hear our artist of the day, and this is Tim McCraw.
Celebrating his 58th birthday today.
Come on, bite your lower lip.
I told you I went to Kenny's birthday party in Nashville once.
Like a rock star. Yeah. You can kick it back, chill it. You can rock hard. Yeah, that's me, man.
Have you done the Nashville thing?
Not as an adult.
You would love it. You should do it.
I will.
Yeah, I went to Nashville last fall.
I remember.
And then I had been there once before. I don't love country music, and it's so fun. There's so much music. And, it's all right there it's called Broadway, but they've got one street that's just lined with honky-tonks, and every bar has 3 bands in it.
I've had it with California, and I am one day going to move to Nashville.
Nashville's cool. I'd go back in a heartbeat. The Country Music Hall of Fame's really cool.
Yes, I understand everything you're saying.
And the food's good and all the things.
You're right. That'll be on the list.
Yeah, you would love it.
Particularly when they get MLB.
Which is somewhat inevitable, right?
It does appear that way, yes. And hopefully we are the other ones, and the Miller family get that team there, and they'll do a great job with that, and I'm excited for that. Okay, here we go. So I put on Facebook, because I always do DJ likes to do it, and he's really good at reading this stuff, not as good, and I'm not as good. He's way better than I am. Lakers are eliminated. What are your emotions? Now, this is just anecdotal, so I'm not going to hold it to you as if you're totally wrong. But this is the first one I called up. Bill Forsythe. I cheer for Gobert and like seeing him win. Can't say the same for Mitchell.
Okay.
And LeBron has overstayed his welcome. Level of defense in an elimination game is embarrassing. And you can get on our app and create just a mic file. What do we call it?
Open mic, yeah.
Open mic, yeah.
Have your take. This one comes in from Brigham, and Jake, this one.
I know Brigham.
This is for you.
You do?
He's weighed in before, yeah.
I've been a Jake and Ben listener long enough that when I saw Tyrese Halliburton's dad do something like that, towards Giannis, that I immediately knew what Jake Scott would say about this. You ready? Mr. John Halliburton sat himself on the front row of his son's game, got nice and comfortable, one of the most important games of his son's career, and asked himself, how can I make this about me? And I say this all the time, what fans don't understand, and this goes for flat-faced dad fans as well, is that there's a line between where the game happens with the players and where fans can interact and have fun. And Mr. Halliburton crossed that line. Good for Giannis for not putting that man in the hospital. And for talking to the media about it after a tough loss. Imagine that.
Okay, first of all,
I can hear your voice in each of those words.
Oh, man.
That was Brigham. Good job, Brigham. Good
Brigham
work.
included like 5 bits in one open mic right there. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what John Halliburton thought. How can I make this about me?
John's the dad?
John's the dad. My son just had a big moment. Okay. How can I make this about me?
Well, why aren't we fining Tyrese Halliburton? The Falcons guy got fined for what a family member did. So over here, we're holding one guy accountable for what a family member did. And over here, nothing.
Well,
come on, league. And put a fine on it. What's the difference? Different leagues, I get it. But if we're all going to be held accountable for everything our family members do.
Oh, I think...
you can kick it back, chill it, or you can rock hard.
I think John Halliburton should be, honestly, banned from going to games.
Let's hear it. Let's hear all these national people who had a whole lot to say when it was on the other side there.
Oh, that kid was an idiot. He deserved
Certainly
whatever.
was. All right, Pete, go ahead.
No, go.
Pete, you're up.
It's hidden open mic.
I know. We are.
Yeah, we just threw it.
Scott is right. As a lifelong Jazz fan, I have much more dislike for Gordon Hayward than Donovan Mitchell.
There, boom.
Let's just pull that Jake Scott is right part, and let's keep that.
I think you should save it.
Yeah, I think we should save that.
That's an interesting question. I hadn't really thought about it until you brought it up, actually, to tell you the truth. And it never really crossed my mind.
Who's less popular with Jazz fans?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we had fun today.
Yeah.
This is good. Thanks for having me in, serious.
I appreciate you coming in and helping me out. DJ will be back. I will be back tomorrow, but I'm heading down to cover the golf tournament.
Oh, man, I feel terrible for you.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. The women are really, really good players.
Did you say you had a buddy playing the Pro-Am?
He did, yeah. And he had the time of his life.
Oh, man, I've only played in one Pro-Am once, ever, and it was such a blast.
And I'm super jealous, and I now hate that person, and he's my ex-friend. But you are my friend, and you can listen to my friend along with Ben Scott, who's also Ben Anderson, who is also my friend, as Jake and Ben are coming up next, right around the corner. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.